team, I hope you're all well. Today we're going to be starting a very exciting reading vlog. I'm really looking forward to this. I wanted to do one of these last year, but just didn't get time to do it. I ran out of time and then felt like that it wouldn't be relevant anymore. So I wanted to do a follow-up to my Goodreads Choice Awards reactions video, which if you haven't seen, I'll leave a link to it up here. I would recommend going and watching that, because I had some opinions and I got some things wrong with some books that have been very popular this year that I didn't realise did actually make it onto last year's Goodreads Choice Awards. So it is what it is, you know. But I'm looking forward to doing a follow-up video to this, a reading vlog where I read some books from those awards. Now, I couldn't decide whether to do romance, whether to do horror, because those two categories are the ones that I've read the most books in, or whether to do like a book from every single category. Now, what happened was I had a conversation with my patrons about this, and I decided, with the help of them, that I was actually going to do a book from every single category that I own books in, because the thought of doing a book in every single one of the categories terrified me. There's a couple of categories that I just don't read from at all. So I wanted to, from each of the categories that I actually own books for, I'm going to pick a book for that category to read. I have to own the book, whether it be on my Kindle or I have it audibly somehow, or I physically own it. Some of them I had on Kindle and then I've actually like purchased for the sake of this video. But don't with me, okay? Do not with me. I know it's not great. I should only be purchasing them if I enjoy them. It is what it is, all right? So I would have gone to my library for them, but my library is currently shut under renovation. So there's not a great deal I can do about that, unfortunately. It is what it is. So some of these categories I may only own one book from, so it's been a very simple pick. Some of them I might own multiple from, so I've generally aimed for the highest rated book on there, and one of them I think I've let my patrons pick for me, so because I was undecided. So without further ado, let's go through the categories and very quickly run down through what it is that I've picked for each category. I will have some graphics over here to show you exactly what's going on. So fiction is the first category, and for this one I literally own one book. I don't think I've read anything off of here. Quickly run through. No, I haven't read anything off of this list, and I own only one book, which I forgot that I owned when I was reacting to the video. So I'd very recently purchased it, and that book is going to be Welcome to the Hu Nam Dong Bookshop. I'm really looking forward to this one. It sounds fantastic. I'm really getting into like my translated fiction and stuff, so I'm really excited about giving this one a read. I'm not going to go through the synopsis of all of these because this is just the TBR portion. When I come to pick the books up, I will let you know what the synopsis is, but I'm really looking forward to giving this one a read, so I'm very excited about this one. This will cross over with another category as well. So you'll see this again in a little bit. Next we do have historical fiction. I've not picked one from here because I don't physically own any of these books and I'm not interested in them enough to want to own them. So this is one of the categories that would have tripped me up had I forced myself to pick up a book from every single category. I don't want to be reading books from categories I'm not interested in, so I don't, I want this video to be enjoyable. I don't want to be struggling through a book just for the sake of this video. I hope that makes sense. I want you guys to enjoy it as much as I enjoy filming it, so I've not picked a book from this category and I'm not going to be picking a book from this category. I don't own any of them. Okay, next we have mystery thriller. So from this category I have read two, which is Middle of the Night and Home is Where the Bodies Are, and I really enjoyed both of those books. Now in this category I own quite a few of them. So the highest rating one that I own is Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera, but I'm actually not going to go for that one because it crops up somewhere else and I'm going to pick it for that prompt, that category instead. So the next highest rated one, it came in neck and neck with a book that I don't actually physically own, but I could get on Kindle Unlimited, but I was more interested in this one, and it is The Return of Ellie Black. Now in the UK, I didn't know this at the time of filming the video, and I've learnt it since, and then it's been gifted to me. But I've been very excited about this book since I found out about it. It is in one of my anticipated releases of the year videos, because I do them every 4 months, so it's in one of those videos, and I've been really excited and waiting for it to be released, and it's not been in the UK, and apparently it's being released with The Return of Ellie Black cover next year in May, so I was waiting for it for then. And I was gutted about it because I really wanted to pick this book up. As it turns out, several people have told me that this book is actually called The Next Girl by Miko Jean in the UK. So it went on my wish list, and it has since been gifted to me by Amanda, so I'm very excited that I now get to read this one because I'm really looking forward to it, and it is the next highest rated, following on from Listen for the Lie for the category. So I'm very excited about giving this one a read, really looking forward to it, and I'm hyped to pick this one up. I'm so glad that I've managed to get my hands on this. Honestly, it was the biggest stress because all I wanted to do was pick up The Return of Ellie Black, so I've got it now. Okay, next is romance, and of these I have read 5, and I do own quite a few of them. Now I think that the highest rated is actually Play Along, if I remember correctly. I think it's Play Along by Liz Tomford, but I haven't read Caught Up yet, so I'm not picking that one. The next highest rated, if this isn't the highest rated one to be perfectly honest, is Funny Story by Emily Henry, so I've decided I'm actually going to go for this one. I cannot believe that I haven't read this yet, and it's actually blasphemous that I haven't done so, so I need to get this done by the end of the year, 100%. I'm really looking forward to this one. I do love me a good Emily Henry, so I didn't love Happy Place, I've got to be honest, so I am a little bit nervous about going into this, which I think is why I haven't picked it up yet, but I am hopeful that it will be really good, and we will get back to, you know, beach read and you and me on vacation. So Funny Story for the romance category. Okay, for Romantasy, I have read 3 of the ones on here, and I own, I think it's 5 or 6 of them. And the highest rated one out of the ones that I own is Quicksilver. I'll show a picture of it here because I don't physically own it yet. It comes out in the UK on the 5th of December, and I do have a copy pre-ordered, but I have it on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm going to be reading it on there. And I'm really looking forward to this one. I've heard nothing but good things, but this is a chunky monkey. So I am nervous. This is the biggest book I think that's going to be on my TBR, and I've ended up vetoing another book for another category because that is also really chunky, and I only wanted one chunky book on this TBR. So we are going for Quicksilver by Callie Hart. I've heard nothing but good things, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. Okay, then we've got fantasy, and for this category I actually haven't read anything for this, which shows you where my mind has been for fantasy this year. It has not been invested at all, unless it's been like cozy fantasy or romantasy. I haven't been invested in fantasy at all this year. It's been an absolute nightmare. But the highest rated in this whole section is actually Empire of the Damned by J. Kristoff, which I do own and I'm very excited about getting to, but I just mentioned in the romantasy category that I vetoed another chunky book in this video, which is Empire of the Damned. There's no way I can do both Quicksilver and Empire of the Damned and all the other books I plan on doing for this video in a timely manner. So I've actually vetoed Empire of the Damned, and I do promise to get to that next year instead. But the next highest rated book on this selection that I own is The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett, which I'm really looking forward to. This was actually already on my November TBR as well, which is great news. So I'm really looking forward to this one, and again, I'm a little bit mad that I haven't got to this yet, but similarly, I've been avoiding my fantasy books because I know I've not been in the mood. I don't want to ruin them with my mood, so I have been avoiding them, but I know Jade's read this one and she really liked it, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about this one. Next, we do have Sci-Fi, and for this one, again, I only own one book on this entire TBR. Again, I haven't read a great deal of sci-fi. I do want to get more into sci-fi, but I haven't read a great deal. I only own one book, and I had an e-arc of it, but I haven't read it yet. So I have, you know, purchased a copy. Don't with me with consumerism. I know, okay? But look at my room. I know. I do have The Family Experiment by John Mars. I'm looking forward to this. This is my first John Mars, but I've heard nothing but good things. I always want to read The One by John Mars because I've heard incredible things about that one. This one I think is going to be a little bit weird, but I'm looking forward to it nonetheless. It isn't small. It is over 450 pages, so it's not a small book, you know. It's going to be a bit chunky. Actually, it's 451 on the nose, so it is a bit of a chunky book, but I'm looking forward to it. It sounds really good, and I'm hoping that I really enjoy this. So, oh, I didn't realise, oh, The One is now a Netflix series. Interesting. So if I enjoy this, I might go back and read The One, but I'm really looking forward to this one. Okay, horror. I am so proud of myself for how well I've done with this category, I'm not going to lie, this year. So out of all of the books in the horror category, I have read 4. And then when I was picking my TBR for this is the one that I've allowed my patrons to pick my TBR for. I owned 3 more. So on my Kindle, I had Diavola by Jennifer Thorne. I had The Book of Witching by CJ Cook. And physically, I owned What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher. Now, I allowed them to vote on this, and this was partway through Final Book Support Group. So it ended up neck and neck between The Book of Witching and What Feasts at Night. So I decided to read What Feasts at Night during Final Book Support Group because it wrapped up that series, or at least it got me up to date. I don't know if there's going to be any more come out in that series, and I can tell you that I really enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. So I'm now up to 5 read on this category, and by the time we get to the end of this video, I'll be 6 read, which is fantastic news, and I'm really excited. So the other book that has won that I will be reading, and I have since gone out and purchased despite the fact that I have it on my Kindle, is The Book of Witching by CJ Cook. I actually prefer the US edition of this. I'm not gonna lie, the US cover's much nicer, I think, personally. There's probably gonna be some disagreements with that, but I'm looking forward to this. It sounds really good. I didn't realize that this was set in 2 different time zones, two different time frames. Never mind, whatever. Glasgow 2024 and Orkney 1594. Should be really interesting. Haven't read anything from CJ Cook before, so I'm really intrigued by this because I know there's obviously an advert here for The Lighthouse Witches, but I know there's an Arctic one as well that I'm really interested in. So if I really like this, I'm looking forward to picking up more from CJ Cook, but I've heard good things, so I'm looking forward to this one. Then we have debut novels. So I've read 2 more off here, which were both in the horror category as well. So I've not done too bad with that, but I actually only physically own 1 more. I did own Voyage of the Damned, but I've unhauled it, so I don't have that anymore. So the only other one that I own is the crossover from fiction with Welcome to the Hugh Nam Dong Bookshop. So this one will be crossing over both fiction and debut novel, which is absolutely fine. You know, these things happen. Then we've got audiobook. So far I've only listened to Just for the Summer out of this category, but I do obviously have Funny Story, which I'm reading for the romance category, so I'm getting to that in both of these sections. I've got First Lie Wins on my Kindle, but I'm not picking that one either, and I can get access to the one that is, you know, an Audible one. It's a free one. I think at some point I will listen to that because it sounds really good, but maybe this time is the other one as well. But I'm actually going to go for Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. I did mention this one in the mystery thriller category. It's the highest rated in that category. But I feel like the audiobook category is made for books like this. This has a podcast element to it. It's got mixed media in it, and I have heard incredibly phenomenal things about the audiobook for this. So I feel like this audiobook category should be made for books like this, where they do something special with the audiobook. It's a full cast narration, or it's got sound effects, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Think along the lines of the Illuminae Files by J. Christoph and Amy Kaufman, or even one that I've read recently that was absolutely fantastic. Where Are You? Episode 13, for example, by Craig DeLuey. The audiobook for this, insanely good. Obviously it won't matter for this year because it didn't come out this year, but I feel like this is what the category should be made for, so I feel like I should prioritise this for this category. So I'm very excited about getting to this one. Then we've got YA fantasy. So in this category I have read 2. I don't agree that they're YA, but that is my problem. And I do own quite a few. Now, on the highest rated out of the ones that I own for this one, the one that did win is Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews, which I'm really excited about because I'm very excited about reading this one. I have it on my Kindle. It's not officially out yet in the UK in physical format. I've actually got this from a US website because I wanted to have a physical copy for the video. Don't with me, because I cannot with myself. This is stunning. I'm absolutely obsessed with this cover and I'm so excited to give this a read. So I am very, very hyped for this one. There were a few other books in this category that I was really looking forward to getting to, but I'm so excited that I'm picking this one up, and luckily it's not too long. So I'm hyped for this one. Then for young adult fiction, again, I've read 3 out of this category, which really surprised me because I don't read a lot of young adult fiction anymore unless they're horrors or thrillers. So I'm really surprised by this, but pleasantly surprised, I will say. And it's really nice to see Heartstopper in here as well. And then physically owning, I did have a couple that I physically own. So I had Death at Morning House, and then the winner for the highest rated is I Hope This Doesn't Find You by Anne Liang. Really excited about this one, I'm not gonna lie. It sounds fantastic. Jodie's really sold this one to me enough for me to purchase it, so I'm very excited about reading this one. It's like P.S. I Love You, but with hate emails instead of love letters, and I'm so stoked. I can't wait to pick this one up. Then we do have non-fiction. Now, I don't read a lot of non-fiction, and not a single one on this list is one that I own or have any interest in reading. So we're skipping this category as well. Very quickly just running through that. I'm not reading from this category. I'm also not going to be reading from the biography or history category either. I'm just going to tell you that straight up now. The last category I am going to be reading from is memoir, but I'm not reading from the history or biography category. I don't own any of those books either, and I've no interest in... I've a little bit of interest in the American Scary one, but not enough to go out and purchase it for this video. So I don't physically own it. We're not doing anything off that category. So the last category is memoir, and out of this category I only own one of these books. I am interested in the Whoopi Goldberg book, I will say, but I only own one of the books, and it is The Third Gilmore Girl by Kelly Bishop. I haven't started this, I've just put a bookmark in. It's my Stars Hollow bookmark. It was important I put it in the book so that I use it for this book. I purchased this not too long before the Goodreads Choice Awards was announced, so, and I knew I really wanted to get to it this year. I am very intrigued by this. I love Gilmore Girls, and I actually really hated Kelly Bishop's character for the most part, but I really got into her as the seasons went on, and she kind of not softened a little bit, but you know, we got to understand her a little bit better. But I'm very excited about reading this one. I think it's going to be fantastic, so I'm really looking forward to it. So that does mean that this is our TBR. So we've got The Next Girl, aka The Return of Ellie Black, for mystery thriller. We've got Funny Story by Emily Henry for the romance. We've got The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett, every single time, for fantasy. The Family Experiment by John Mars for sci-fi. We've got The Book of Witching by C.J. Cook for horror. We've got Welcome to the Hugh Nam Dong Bookshop for fiction and debut book. We've got Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera for audiobook. We have Don't Let the Forest In by C.J. Drews for YA fiction. Nope, YA fantasy. Yep. I Hope This Doesn't Find You by Anne Liang for YA fiction. We have The Third Gilmore Girl by Kelly Bishop, and we've also got Quicksilver by Callie Hart for the Romantasy section. So I'm really excited about this. This is a lot of books for me to be getting through though over the next couple of weeks, so I really need to get on and get started. And we're gonna start from, in fact we're gonna do it in the order that I've gone through this, that I've run through it, and the order that Goodreads do this. So we will start off with Welcome to the Hugh Nam Dong Bookshop. Okay, so this one says it's about Yeonju did everything she was supposed to do. Go to university, marry a decent man, get a respectable job. Then it all fell apart. Burned out, Yeonju abandons her old life, quits her high-flying career and follows her dream. She opens a bookshop. In a quaint neighbourhood in Seoul, surrounded by books, Yeonju and her customers take refuge. From the lonely barista to the unhappy married coffee roaster. From the lonely barista to the unhappily married coffee roaster and the writer who sees something special in Yeonju, they all have disappointments in their past. The Hyunam Dong bookshop becomes the place where they all learn how to truly live. This sounds absolutely adorable and I'm really excited about it. And what I will say is I'm also really excited about the fact that every time a chapter ends, there is this woman walking her dog at the bottom. I just think it's this woman. I just think it's really cute. It's the little things in life, do you know what I mean? Anyway, I'll be back to update you on how this is going halfway through, but I'm really excited to get into this, so let's go. Okay, I gotta talk to you about Welcome to the Hyunam Dong bookshop because I've finished it. I haven't even come on to tell you what it's about, but I've finished it. This is following Yeonju, who, you know, did everything she was supposed to in life. Go to university, marry a decent man, get a respectful job. But it all started to fall apart. She was feeling really burnt out. She wasn't happy in her marriage. And all she ever really wanted to do in life was open up a bookshop. So she left and she decided to open up a bookshop in a quaint neighborhood in Seoul. She's surrounded by her books and she's surrounded by customers. She does end up with a lonely barista working in there and unhappily married coffee roaster, and also a writer who ends up going in there very, very regularly, who sees something in her. And they've all got disappointments in their past. They've all got a story to tell, and we're just essentially following them kind of go through the motions of everything that they've felt has been a disappointment in their life, and then also come to some realizations, you know, about what life is and finding ways to truly live again within the bookshop. And the bookshop helps them to do that. So I was really excited about this one. I haven't read too many translated fiction books, but I have got quite the collection now on my shelves since reading the Kamigawa Food Detectives, which I absolutely loved. Now, with the Kamigawa Food Detectives, it was a collection of it's not a collection of short stories. We're following the same two main characters who run the food detective restaurant, but we are also following a different character that comes in to tell their story and the story of food and everything like that. So it's like a collection of 5 or 6 different other characters whose stories we're getting within it. And at the time, I didn't think it worked too well. I wanted more from it. However, now that I have read this, I actually think it works better because I liked that we were getting different characters. We were getting different tidbits, and I liked that it was, you know, there was a point to it. We were finding out information about this character, about this character's life, and about the food that they wanted to be recreated. And then we were getting the motions of trying that, going through the motions of trying that food and what it meant to them and what it brought back for them. This, I will say, we were obviously following Young Geo, and we're following the barista, we're following the writer, we're following the coffee roaster, and it was nice, but I just didn't feel connected to it. I felt like there was a disconnect, like something was lost in translation. And I don't mean literally, I mean figuratively. Obviously this is a translated book. I just felt a little bit disconnected from it. I didn't fully care about the characters. I wasn't completely invested. The vibes of the bookshop, really lovely, really enjoyed that side of things, but I just didn't feel fully connected to the characters as a whole. I felt like it was quite I don't know, harsh maybe in its storytelling as well, and I don't know, it just didn't feel as cozy or as healing for me as the Kamigawa Food Detectives, for example. So I don't know, it just didn't work for me as well as I'd really hoped it would do, and I'm a little bit gutted about it. I'm gonna keep hold of this. I'm not gonna, like, normally I would unhaul something like this that's giving me this feeling and it's not, you know, reached the level I thought it was going to. It's not reached the bar that I'd set for it, which I've got to stop doing with books. Normally I would unhaul something like that. I think I'm going to keep hold of it and maybe try it again. Maybe it's because of the type of video that I'm doing it for, and maybe I've rushed through it a little bit too fast, but maybe I need to give it another go. I have given it 3 stars. I didn't dislike it by any means. It just didn't give me what I was hoping for. I wanted healing fiction. I wanted to feel something. I wanted to come out of this with a sense of a new, renewed sense of what it means to live and what life means, and, you know, a really a really resounding quote that will stick with me forever, and I just didn't get that from it, which is a real shame. So I just wasn't feeling it with this one as much, unfortunately. It is what it is. It's a shame. It's so pretty. Again, maybe it's just because I've gone through it so quickly. Maybe I missed the point. I don't know. But 3 stars overall for this one. And yeah, I have finished it. So this one does complete the fiction and also debut novel category for with this book. So success. All right, hello. I am over halfway through The Next Girl by Miko Jean. Here's what happened. This came in the other day and I picked it up the minute it came in and then smashed my way through 160 pages. I'm not joking, I'm on page 161. Smashed my way through 160 pages. I am loving this. This is absolutely fantastic. We are following Chelsea, who's a detective, and 20 years ago she lost her sister, and ever since then she's fought really hard to try and help other missing girls get back to their parents and come back to their life and things like that. And she's fought really hard to help these people out, and that's what she does essentially. We have this situation where a young girl called Elizabeth Black, aka Ellie Black, returns after being missing for the last 2 years, and obviously an investigation starts to try and find out where she's been, what's going on, and all of this stuff. But as it turns out, it may seem that her case is connected to other missing girl cases in which maybe bodies have turned up and things like that. So I'm really intrigued in this one. It sounds absolutely fantastic, and so far I'm really enjoying it. Ellie has come back and she's in the well, she has been in the hospital. They're now putting together bits of information as far as like DNA is concerned and things like that. But Chelsea, I think, is pushing. She wants this more than everybody else, and I'm not 100% certain of the reason why. And I think it might have something to do with her sister. I feel like the story that we've been given of her sister is not as simple as it seems, and she's pushing way too hard with Ellie, and Ellie's just been like, listen, I don't want anything to do with this investigation. Do not contact me anymore. I do not want to speak to you anymore. And without Ellie, there isn't an investigation. So it's really interesting. Every now and then we get like normal chapters, which will be like chapter 19 for example, in which we're following Chelsea, but then we will get, or somebody else, but then we will get the odd chapter where it will be like this, in which we're following specifically Ellie, and she's kind of telling us her side of the story of what happened to her throughout the book. And I just find it really interesting. I am listening to the audiobook and it's very well done. It is multiple narrators, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a very good time, and I think this is also a really good look at I just feel like it's very prevalent for at the moment with everything that's been going on in the world, you know, and I just feel like it's a really good look into just womanhood in general, but also the lack of safety for women as well. You know, the whole bear or man conversation in a forest, all of that shit, really relevant in this book. There was a quote in here that, so there's been quite a few quotes actually, but there was something mentioned in here from Chelsea actually about her dad, where he said to her once she became a detective, he was like, listen, you've got to sort your emotions out because you are a detective now, not a woman. And I was like, dude, she can be both. What do you mean? She can be both. Something else that was mentioned as well, this one. I have a hard time not blaming myself for what happened next. I wish I didn't. I wish this was not a cautionary tale about what happens to girls who wander off in the dark, who are made to learn there are bad people everywhere. That the truth is these people are not strangers. They are the men you sleep with, the men you work with, the men you raise. I wish this wasn't what it means to be female. It is not a matter of if something bad will happen, but when. Absolutely shocking. I had to tab that one because I just thought it was really incredibly prevalent. It's always prevalent for women, but right now, so significantly prevalent, and it just really hit like a ton of bricks, quite frankly, because it's so true. But yeah, I'm really loving this so far, and I don't think it's going to take me too much longer to get through this, and I think I'll be back to update you on my full thoughts on this. So glad that I decided to put Listen for the Lie in for audiobook so that I could read this one. Thank you to Amanda for sending me this in a timely manner that meant that I could do it for this video, because I've been so excited about reading this all year, and then obviously the whole title change change thing really threw me off. I had no idea that this was the return of Ellie Black. So annoying. This whole year I could have had this book and just read it, you know. So anyway, I would highly recommend this, that's for damn sure. I'm only halfway through though. I don't know how this is going to end, but really wanted to come on and update you while I was halfway through. Having a very, very, very good time. Really enjoying the writing style. I'm interested to go back and see what else Amiko has written and see if I'm interested in reading anything else. So having a very good time, loving it so far. I'll be back to update you. All right, I'm here to wrap up the next girl. It has been, oh, what day are we on? It's maybe been a week and a half since I read this, and I've been sitting with my thoughts. I did do a wrap up the minute I finished it, but I've been sitting with my thoughts since, because that wrap up was very messy and didn't really make much sense. It wasn't quite cohesive, and I think the reason why is that I had such high hopes for this that I was trying to convince myself that I'd enjoyed it more than I actually had. So now that I've had time to sit with it, I moved my rating from a 4-star rating down to a 3. I did like this. I liked the writing style. Thought the writing style was really, really good, and I would definitely pick up something else from Amiko Jean in the future. But overall, I think the story was kind of a little bit predictable, is what I will say. I think the messages that we were getting were very good. There were a couple of quotes that were really interesting and quite impactful, as well as a woman reading from the POV of a woman who lost her sister when she was younger and has then dedicated her entire adult life to trying to help find missing girls, essentially. That is pretty much what she does as a cop, and this is how she ends up in this situation when Ellie Black ends up coming back to her life, and after being missing for a couple of years, Chelsea is obviously trying to find out what happened to Ellie, and she's trying to find out what's happened to a whole bunch of other girls that seem to be also tied in with what's happened to Ellie. So it was really interesting, but I did predict what was going to happen at the end. I saw it coming actually before I even I think once I'd introduced this to you, I don't know how many pages in I was at that point, but once I'd introduced this to you, I had some suspicions in my mind of where this was going to go. And it was at that point that I was like, I'm fairly certain that we're going to end up with a reveal here, that I know what's going to happen, and it did. So it was interesting though. I did like it. I think it was a good story, and I think I will definitely pick up from Amiko Jean again. I loved the writing. The writing was great, and I do think that it was quite suspenseful. I think just because I knew the direction it was going to go in and I had my suspicions, it kind of took the enjoyment away a little bit. I like it. I don't even mind if I'm like, oh, I have this prediction, and the prediction happens, but then there's another reveal as well that I did not see coming. I don't mind when that happens, but if I predict everything that's going to happen at the end, sometimes I don't enjoy the book as much, and it is a shame. These things happen. The more you read mysteries and thrillers, the more you pick up on it, and I think that's what's happening here. Like Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney and Wrong Place, Wrong Time, I did not predict what was going on in either of those books, and I was shooketh to my core. And to be fair, even if I read them now, I don't think I would predict what would happen in them, because the prediction, the reveals were just so insane, and I was like, what do you mean? And I've kept the books so that I can give them a reread at some point, but this one, I just don't think there'll be any need for me to reread this one. I predicted it in the beginning, there would no need to reread it again, but it's a really good look into conversations surrounding womanhood, and especially, you know, how we are deemed the lesser sex and we are preyed on massively. We are the sex that does find themselves in more bother than not because of their own, like through no fault of their own, just because they are preyed on by the other sex, the stronger sex. And it does really good conversations around trafficking, things like that, and I think it was just really interesting on that side of things as well. It's fascinating, and I just think there was a lot of conversations and quotes that really hit home as well. Very, very interesting indeed. I just think on that basis it's a really interesting read for that side of things. But yeah, overall I saw the prediction coming and I have given this one 3 stars, but I will pick up from Miko Jean again. I did really enjoy the writing style. So thank you to Amanda for gifting me this one in time to be able to do this video. I really appreciate it. But yeah, that was The Next Girl and I gave it 3 stars. Okay, hey, I'm here. You're sitting on a plant pot. I'm here to chat to you about the romance book, which is going to be Emily Henry's new book, A Funny Story. I am excited to give this one a read. A little bit nervous. Happy Place didn't hit for me the way that I hoped it would and the way that her previous books have. So previously Emily Henry, I think for me, with her romance at least, because she's done quite a bit of YA stuff as well, was a 5-star author until Happy Place. So I think I gave it 4 stars, maybe 3.5. It just didn't hit the same and I didn't enjoy it as much. So this one is actually following our main characters Daphne and also Miles. Now Daphne was happily engaged to this guy called Peter. They'd been together for a while. They had a really nice meet cute story and everything. Peter had this best friend called Petra, who they'd been best friends since they were kids. Their parents are best friends, you know, their lives are completely entwined. And Daphne had already been always been told by Peter not to worry about Petra, she's just my best friend, blah blah blah. He has his stag do and Petra goes on said stag do because she's his best friend, and Miles doesn't get invited, Petra's partner, because Peter doesn't necessarily get on with Miles. As it turns out, the end of the stag do in the evening, Peter comes home and ends up telling Daphne that he and Petra have declared their love for each other and he's going to bugger off for a week with Petra while Daphne sorts herself out because she's essentially living in his house. So she, in a blind panic, ends up moving in with Miles, who is Petra's now ex. And they become roomies, and then a friendship starts to take place between the two of them. They both get invited to the wedding very quickly of Peter and Petra, and they basically RSVP saying, well, Daphne RSVPs saying that she's going to come with her boyfriend, her new boyfriend, and Peter says, but you didn't, you know, you've not asked for a +1, and she's like, it's fine, he's got an invitation, and it suddenly clicks in Peter's head that Miles is her new boyfriend. She then obviously tells Miles and he thinks it's hilarious, so they go along with it. But as they're getting to know each other more and more, they're starting to get feelings for each other, I think. But they're obviously living together. Daphne is on a bit of a countdown. We're getting a countdown from her that she wants to move away. She moved to this place because of Peter, and she's like, I don't belong here, this is not a squirrel. Where has that just come from? Bye, Squizzle. Yeah, she moved to this place for Peter. She left like her family and friends and job and everything and moved to this place. She does have a job that she loves in a library, and she's just counting down essentially to this specific day in which she can find something else. She's got this thing planned with the library that she wants to be there for, and then she's going to move somewhere else. So they're just building up this relationship, and I have already started this. Honestly, I forgot to come and tell you what this was about before I started it, and I'm now over halfway through. I'm on page 200. I've just been listening to the audiobook while getting some admin done. The audiobook is good. It is on the audiobook category as well. I don't think it's necessarily anything special. Do I think it deserves to be on the audiobook category? Not necessarily. But it is good. And I am having a good time with this. I will say I'm having a better time with this than I did with Happy Place. So this is definitely going to get higher rating than Happy Place, unless something detrimental happens in the meantime. But I'm really enjoying getting to know Daphne and Miles and getting to see them getting to know each other. I do feel like, though, this kind of story could have benefited from dual POV, and I think it would have been nice to have gotten Miles's POV with this, because they have had a little bit of a moment on the couch while watching a movie, and then the following day kind of discussed it, and Miles was like, I just don't know if this was a good idea, it was probably a mistake, you know, we live together, and we're both going through these horrible breakups, and I just don't want it to come between us. And she was like, yeah, sure. She didn't want to admit that, but it would be nice to be in Miles's head and see whether or not he was just testing the water with that, or whether he genuinely believed it, because it's clear that he is into her. He's still flirting with her a bit, you know, making innuendos, asking her to go and do things with him that you wouldn't necessarily ask a friend, maybe, I don't know. But it's nice to get to know them and to see this relationship building off of the back of something that I can imagine is incredibly difficult, especially on Daphne's side of things. Like Miles and Petra, they were together for a while, but Daphne and Peter were literally engaged to get married very, very soon. And I think his new wedding to Petra is actually coming up. It's either just before their wedding was supposed to be, or not long after when their wedding was supposed to be, which, you know, is just the most shocking thing. I literally couldn't imagine being engaged to someone, then deciding that they don't want to be with me anymore and they want to be with the best friend that they told me not to worry about, and then having a wedding day, like either right before our wedding day was supposed to be or right after. It's just the worst type of people, honestly. So to make it even worse, Petra's one of those people that everybody likes because she's just nice to everybody. She hasn't got a problem with anybody. So I just hate that. I hate it. I already don't like her. But yeah, so I'm enjoying this so far. It's nice to be back with Emily Henry's writing, and it makes me more excited for next year's book that's going to come out by Emily. That makes me think that I might actually pick it up when it comes out instead of waiting until the end of the year, because it will inevitably be on next year's Goodreads Choice Awards. She's on every single year. So yeah, I'm having a good time with this, and I wanted to come on and give you an update. So I will be back to let you know my full thoughts on it. I may even be in the same attire because there's a good chance I'm going to finish this today. I think I've got just over 2 hours of the audiobook left. So, and I have got some bits to do pottering around the house in which I can listen to this. So yeah. Funny story. Okay, I am back to give you an update on Funny Story. I flew through this in one day, and I've been sitting with my thoughts ever since. I have given this 5 stars. We are back in business with Emily Henry. I didn't love Happy Place. I've loved her previous books, romance books, but I didn't love Happy Place. It just wasn't the one for me. But this one, so good. I think I've given you an intro into what this is about, but we're following Daphne and Miles for the most part. Daphne was with Peter, Miles was with Petra. Peter and Petra were best friends for a really long time, and this is how everybody's met. So Daphne and Peter were celebrating their their engagement. Peter was on his stag do in which Petra went on, but Miles wasn't invited. And at the end of the night, Peter ended up coming home to Daphne and basically saying to her, look, I've had a conversation with Petra, and I actually don't want to marry you anymore. I'm in love with Petra. Despite the fact that he spent years telling Daphne that there is nothing, there's a platonic relationship between him and Petra. So she's fucking devastated. She's no idea what to do next. Peter and Petra leave. They decide they're going to go for a week so that Daphne can find somewhere to stay and get all of her shit out of the house with no pressure. She ends up with Miles at her front door looking for Petra. She ends up moving in with Miles, so into a flat. He's got 2 rooms there, and slowly but surely they end up building a friendship up. They start hanging out together as friends, and then it all stems from getting an invitation to Peter and Petra's wedding, in which they decide to accept the invitation, and Daphne has a conversation with Peter and tells him that she's going to come to the wedding and she's coming with a date, and he's like, oh, but we didn't give you a +1. She's like, no, it's fine. He got his own invitation, at which point Peter clicks and he's like, oh shit, you're bringing Miles? And she's like, yeah, we're dating. So Very interesting story. That is the plot of this story. It's so nice to see the character arcs of Daphne and Miles, because Miles is very much, even from Daphne's POV, is very much seen to be a bit of a lazy sod, a little bit of a stoner that isn't going anywhere. And that's what Daphne's always, her opinion has been of him because of what Peter's told her. Now, when she moves in with him, he is a bit of a stoner. He enjoys, you know, getting stoned a little bit in his free time, but he actually works really, really hard. He has, I think it's a couple of jobs, but he works really hard. He's got ambition, he's got aspirations in life, and it's really interesting to kind of see that unfolding from Daphne's POV as well, because she did not have this opinion of him at all. And slowly but surely they start to hang out a little bit more, start to get feelings for each other, and then actually actively start dating each other. And it was just really, really nice. I really enjoyed it. I really liked the banter between Daphne and Miles. I thought it was great. I actually loved as well, because Daphne was very much an isolated person. She had moved to this place because of Peter. So when they broke up, she was obviously furious. Her mum lives somewhere else. She lives in another state, and she's got no friends or family in this state. So she's literally moved then in with Miles, who she doesn't know very well, but she's moved in with him because she didn't have any other option. She works in a library, which she fucking loves this job, and she doesn't really want to leave, but she's doing a readathon for the library, which was really nice to see their concept of a readathon in the book as well, which was like a charity event thing for the library to help raise some money. And she's counting down to this readathon, at which point she's planning on leaving and, you know, applying for other jobs, leaving and moving closer to her mum. And as we go through the story, you see that countdown changing. 128 days until I can leave, 44 days until I can leave, 30 days until the readathon. You know, like the countdown starts to change as she potentially changes her mind about whether or not she's going to leave. She makes a friend at work. So the relationship between Daphne and Ashley is really, really sweet. The girl that she makes friends with at work, who is a bit older than Ashley. She's actually got a daughter as well, and they start hanging out and becoming friends, and more become friends. And it's really sweet the way that Ashley treats Daphne as well. Once she realizes that Daphne hasn't had this before, really good, strong female friendship before. It's amazing how sometimes she will speak to her in a way that, like, this is how you should be treated. Please don't think that this is special treatment and I'm treating you any differently than I would treat some of my other girlfriends. Like, this is how you should have been treated from day one, and you just haven't by any of your friends, and that's shit on their behalf, but it's nothing you've done wrong. And it was just so sweet because Daphne really does, her entire demeanor changes. Like, she's not a different person, like in a terrible way, but like she's a different person from who she is at the beginning of the book, where, you know, her entire life surrounded Peter, and towards the end of the book she's really interested in being with Miles, but she doesn't want this again, where her entire life surrounds the man in her life. She wants it that her entire life surrounds her, and the people in her life add to that. Do you know what I mean? So she's prioritizing herself instead of the man in her life is exactly what I'm aiming for. And I just loved it. I loved to see this relationship blossom, the friendship with Ashley blossom, her blossom as a whole as a person, and the same for Miles as well. It's all from Daphne's POV. The audiobook, I will say, on the audiobook side of things, because this was also voted for audiobook, is a great audiobook. I think the narrator is the same one that does all of Emily Henry's books, and I always enjoy her, but it's nothing special. Like, she does a really great job. She really brings the characters to life for you, and I think it's always really important when a narrator does that instead of just talking normally. She does a really good job on the basis that she's doing several characters in here as well, because there's no male narrator in this, so she does a really good job, but there's nothing special about the audiobook. So for me, do I think it necessarily belongs in that category? Maybe not. Did it do anything specifically special that I think it should be in the audiobook category? No. Was it a good audiobook? Yes. Would I recommend listening to the audiobook? Yes. Did it do anything special? not particularly. Fantastic book though, 5 stars, and I'm glad we're back in business with Emily Henry, because I was really worried we were about to be on a slippery downhill slope here, but thank the Lord we're not. It was great, 5 stars. Hello. Okay, I am here to give you an update on Quicksilver. I have started this and I am just over 100 pages in. I am currently 106 pages in, which is 18%, and I'm enjoying this so far. It's going really well. I have the audiobook as well, and this is one of the audiobooks that I would have imagined would fit in the audiobook category for Goodreads Choice Awards. It has multiple narrators. I don't know how many specifically. Let's have a quick look. Oh, 2 apparently, Stella Bloom and Anthony Palmini. But what I will say about it is that it's done in like duet narration. So for the most part, Stella is telling the story from our main character's perspective, Ceres, and then Anthony's kind of chipping in. Every time there's a male character that speaks, doesn't matter who the male character is, but every time there's a male character that speaks, Anthony chips in and does their parts. I don't know if further through the book we will end up getting our MMC's POV, I'm not sure, but right now we're just from Ceres's POV, and it's a really good audiobook so far. I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a good time. So we are following 24-year-old Ceres, who has been living in a world of poverty, if you like. Essentially, the queen is Ceres comes from the third, and the queen has essentially just been giving them really dirty water for as long as Ceres has remembered. She gets like a very small amount of water every single day, and that is it, and they're treated really badly and deemed like getting diseases and plagues and constantly dying, and it's because they're drinking shit water, literally. So anyway, one day she ends up finding herself in this situation where the queen demands that she is killed, and then she ends up finding herself in a position where she accidentally turns a key to a gate, essentially a portal that has not been opened in a very, very long time, and it reopens a gateway between the realms and is transported to a land of ice and snow where the Fae are. Now, she thought that the Fae was a lie, a fairy tale that was told by parents to scare the kids over time, and she's now in this situation where the Fae have essentially saved her, and now she is living with them. We have characters, Lane. We've also come across Ren, is he called, and Kingfisher, who Kingfisher I think is going to be our MMC, our main character, and also our love interest. I think from the synopsis it says that the first of her kind to tread the frozen mountain of Yavala in over 1,000 years, Ceres mistakenly binds herself to Kingfisher, a handsome Fae warrior who has secrets and nefarious agendas of his own. He will use her alchemist magic. She doesn't know, she knows that she can do weird stuff, but she doesn't know she's got this alchemy magic to protect his people no matter what it costs him or her. Death has a name. It's Kingfisher of the Ajun Gate. His past is murky, his attitude stinks, and he's the only way Ceres is going to make it home. Be careful of the deals you make, dear child. The devil is in the detail. It sounds really good, and so far we haven't had much interaction between Kingfisher and Ceres, but I'm intrigued to see where it goes. So I'm really enjoying myself so far, actually having a very good time. This is a long story, a long book. It's 20 hours and 41 minutes on audio, so, and I think it's like over 500 pages or over 600 pages. So it's going to take me a while to get through this one, but so far really enjoying it, and I am flying through it, to be fair, as well. So having a very good time. I just wanted to come on, introduce it, let you know very quickly what I have learned so far that this book is about, and I'm excited to get a physical copy of this. I'm so glad I've got a end of my sprint. I'm so glad I've got a copy pre-ordered. So yeah, that should come, I think it's about the 5th of December if I remember correctly. So I'm excited to get a physical copy of this because already so far really enjoying it, and I think it's going to continue that way. So yeah, I am going to carry on with this, and I will be back to give you another update. Okay, I have finished Quicksilver. I was really hoping my copy would be here by now because this book was released a few days ago. and I've had an email from Waterstones to say that it's been sent to me on the Monday. It's currently Saturday and it's not arrived yet, and I'm really frustrated because I ordered the special edition one. I was in Waterstones in Liverpool last night and they didn't have any of the special edition ones in, otherwise I would have picked up a copy while I was there and I would have ended up with 2 copies, but I could have taken the other one back once it finally arrived. But they only had normal copies, so I'm a bit frustrated because I was really hoping to have it for this video, but I have finished it. I was consuming it via ebook and audiobook, and I fucking love this. It was so good. I gave it 5 stars. I loved everything about this. The world building, the atmosphere, the characters. Ceres was a great character and I really enjoyed her. I thought she was absolutely brilliant, and I think what really helped was the audiobook. It really brought the whole thing to life. To have it was a duet narration, but done in such a way that the POVs are from Ceres only until the last chapter, in which we get Fisher's POV. And so what happens is everything is told in the female narrator's voice until a male in the book speaks, whether that's Fisher or whether it's somebody else. It's all from the female narrator's side of things until a man speaks. So I really enjoyed it. I thought the audiobook was so interesting. She really brought everything to life, and I fucking loved Ceres. She was such a badass, like a huge badass, and I just loved her. I thought she was really cool, really like a force to be reckoned with type character, and I just loved that. I loved the fact that we were learning the world with her, because she didn't believe in the fae, she didn't believe in fairies, she didn't believe that there was this other world where the fairies were, so we were learning all of this with her. So it wasn't done in a really complicated way that can be really difficult to understand, because the main character knows the intricate stuff, but they're just telling us only the intricate stuff. We're not getting the basics of the world, and I really enjoyed that we were learning everything in basic terms, because she didn't know about any of this at all. So that was super interesting. I loved Fisher's character, and I think it was fascinating to see his story unfold as we carried on with the book, and it was so interesting, and I can't wait to get more in this world and get more with these characters. And I just thought the whole thing was super interesting. There were so many reveals, and then at the very end, the reveal at the end, the cliffhanger, oh my god. This is a book that I will definitely be rereading when the next one comes out. I don't know how long this series is going to be, but this is one that I will not mind in the slightest, despite how large the book is. I will not mind in the slightest rereading when the next one's about to come out. There is no release date, I don't think, for the second one, but I will not mind rereading it at all. I loved this. The minute I finished it, I wanted to start it again. It was just so good, and I really enjoyed it. The atmosphere, the world building, the characters, the way it was told, everything just so incredible, and I'm just very excited to continue on with the series. I don't want to tell you, I know it's a large book, but I don't want to tell you too much more than what I may have already mentioned in the intro of this portion, because there's so many things that could be counted as spoilers, so I don't want to say too much more. But I absolutely loved it. It was so good. I knew I would enjoy this, but I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. I truly loved it, and if you are a fan of SJM and the ACOTAR series, you will like this one. It was very good, and I loved it a lot. So 5 stars for this one. I'm just pissed that I don't have my physical copy to show you, so I'm a little bit mad and disappointed in Waterstones for that, but it is what it is, I suppose. Black Friday has not long since been, so they're probably very busy. I'm just annoyed they sent me an email to say it's been released, and then when I look on the tracking with Royal Mail, they're like, we're still waiting for it from the shop. And I'm like, fantastic, please don't lie to me, Waterstones. I really want to be a good customer and stick with you, but you're making it really difficult for me. So yeah, very excited about this book, very excited to continue on with the series. It was fantastic. I will say, This book would have gotten my vote in the audiobook category had I known that'd be a thing. It should have been in the audiobook category because the audiobook was insanely good and the narrators have done a fantastic job at bringing this book to life. This type of book is the type of book that should be in the audiobook category. If you're watching this video in order, if you're not, I don't know what you're doing, but if you're watching this video in order, I will have just spoken about Funny Story by Emily Henry, which was voted in the audiobook category. This should have got the vote over Funny Story. There is nothing wrong with the audiobook for Funny Story. It's fantastic, it's really good, does nothing special. This though is the type of book that should be voted in the audiobook category. If you're going to stick audiobook in as a category, you should be putting books in that do something special, like Quicksilver. It was a great audiobook and I would highly recommend consuming it via audio if you can do so. So yeah, 5 stars for Quicksilver, outstanding. Okay, I'm here to introduce the fantasy book, which is The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. I remember when I spotted this actually and first found out about it. I think it was the double triple points in November last year, and I was obviously doing a lot of research on what books were coming out. I was writing a list for the year of books that are coming out in 2024 and making sure that I read into them and what intrigued me. This cover sucked me in immediately. I am obsessed. It is beautiful, and then I found out what it was about and I was very, very intrigued. So this is a fantasy mystery book, and I like the idea of that. A peculiar crime, a brilliant investigator, a mystery of epic proportions. It sounds great. So essentially, I think the basis of this is that the mystery is that somebody has died and a tree has grown out of their body within the space of about 5 minutes, like a full-blown tree. It's got flowers on it and everything, and that is the mystery of what's going on here. Now, the synopsis, in fact, Wesley Chu has said part Sherlock Holmes murder mystery, part Through the Looking Glass. The Tainted Cup is one of the wildest, most original stories that I've ever had the privilege to explore. I feel like Through the Looking Glass could throw me off a little bit here, and I've not read a single book in the fantasy category this year. I am very out of it with fantasy not as a whole. I'm reading Romantasy, I'm reading middle grade fantasy, but I'm not really reaching for like high epic fantasy. I'm just not touching it at all. I'm very much so back in a slump with that, and The Way of Kings put me back in that slump. So shout out to Brandon Sanderson for that. I truly appreciate you. But the part Sherlock Holmes really intrigues me, and I know Jade's read this one and she said that she thinks I'm going to absolutely love this because of the whole mystery element and the part Sherlock Holmes kind of vibes. She said it was very much giving those vibes. So in an opulent mansion at the borders of the Empire, an Imperial officer lies dead, killed when a tree spontaneously erupted from his body. Even here, where contagions abound and the blood of the Leviathans works strange magical changes, is a death at once terrifying and impossible. Called to solve the crime is Anna Delabra, an investigator whose reputation for brilliance is matched only by her eccentricity. At her side is her new assistant, Dinios Call, an engraver magically altered to possess a perfect memory. Soon the mystery leads to a scheme that threatens the safety of the Empire itself. For Anna, all this makes for a deliciously thorny puzzle. At last, something to truly hold her attention. And Din, he'll just have to hold on for the ride. So I have started this. I'm currently on chapter 4, 46 pages in. And we have had, instead of Anna going to find out all the information, Din has ended up going instead. And Din has collected all the information. The whole engraver thing means that he can do interviews, things like that, get all this information, and when he gets back to Anna, he can reciprocate the whole thing word for word. Absolutely perfect. I don't know if it means that he's like, you know, a little bit of a recorder or something. It's almost like there's a tape recorder inside him, so when he does the interviews, he just presses play and it all comes out of him. I'm not sure, but it's fascinating so far and I'm really enjoying it. I like the mystery element of it. It is very, very intriguing and also very terrifying that a tree has just sprouted up from this guy's body and that is how he's ended up dying. and I do find that intriguing. I am struggling a little bit with the fantasy world element side of it, but I'm hoping that I get into that a little bit more the more that I read it. The audiobook's quite good. I am listening to the audio and I'm enjoying it so far. The narrator is interesting, and we have met Anna, and she is very eccentric. She is, she could be passed off as a little bit, you know, unhinged, if you like, and she's very intriguing, and I like the banter back and forth between Din and Anna. So she is obviously very much so, you know, she's got a humour element to her, and Din is trying a little bit more. He's a bit stiff and has been described that way. A couple of people have even mentioned it to him, Anna and also the officer that he was conversing with down at the scene of the crime. And it's intriguing to see them have their back and forth, their banter back and forth. I quite like it. I think Anna's going to be absolutely hilarious, and this, you know, the banter back and forth between Anna and Din, and him kind of just going along for the ride with Anna's eccentricness, I think is going to be hilarious. And I'm just really intrigued to see where this mystery goes and how it all comes about, and learn more about the world and the fantastical elements of it. There is a sequel to this, so I'm intrigued to see where that goes as well, whether it's just that there's another mystery, or I don't know. But I'm excited to continue on with this. Meg Gardiner said original, imaginative and suspenseful. So yeah, I'm going to continue on with this one, but so far I am having a good time with it, and I'm excited to get to know Anna and Din more and this world and find out what the heck is going on. It's got like the whole like mushroom thing and stuff going on here, so I don't know if it's going to be a little bit reminiscent to like What Moves the Dead and was it Mexican Gothic, the Silvia Moreno Garcia one that's like What Moves the Dead. I think it's Mexican Gothic. So I'm interested to see if it's going to be a bit like that, or if it just stands completely on its own with the whole, you know, fungi thing. If it's got nothing to do with that, it's just pretty for the cover. But this cover is stunning, so I'm excited to continue on with this, and I just wanted to let you know what it was about. And then I am currently 46 pages in, and hoping to make more progress today. So yeah. Alright, so The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. I am obsessed with this cover. I'm also obsessed with the other cover that is for this. The cover is stunning. I have finished this. I've ended up giving it 3 stars, and here is why. This is the only book I have read out of the fantasy category this year, which for me is unusual, but I have been in a high epic fantasy slump for maybe it's been going on 3 years now, but I came out of it a little bit earlier on this year, towards the end of last year and earlier on this year, and I ended up back in it with The Way of Kings. Shout out to Brandon Sanderson for that. But I ended up back in it with The Way of Kings. I just really struggled to get through that book. Now, on that basis, I haven't really been reaching for fantasy, and the highest rated book that I owned for this category was Empire of the Damned. Am I wishing that I kind of picked that up? Maybe, but at the same time, I'm glad I've gotten to this because it was on my shelves, and I'm glad that I have got to it. Do I think I might have enjoyed Empire of the Damned a bit more? Yes, because I'm already familiar with the world building and the characters, but this, I liked it. It was good. I think the Sherlock and Watson comparisons that there have been for this book were on point. I think it was really good. I loved Anna. I thought she was brilliant, who is the main investigator, and I thought she was hilarious as well. The way that she would speak to Din, who is essentially like her sidekick, essentially, the way that she would speak to Din. Anna was very quirky. She was quite out there, you know, every other word is almost a swear word, and she's quite out there and quite Sherlock-esque. Din, on the other hand, is a bit quieter. He's almost robot-like, if you like. There isn't much emotion going on with Din, and I just really, again, a little bit like Watson, but I just really enjoyed the dynamic between the two of them, the way that she would speak to Din sometimes, and the banter that on occasion, if Din would try to crack a joke and she'd be like, was that a joke? And he was like, yeah. Just the banter back and forth between them was very, very good. I liked that aspect. I loved the characters, especially Anna and Din. I really liked that. There were a lot of characters in here with a lot of like more fantastical names that on occasion I would lose my mind entirely with that. And I think this is the thing with fantasy at the moment. My brain just cannot comprehend and hold information about fantastical worlds that are, I don't know if it's just the name of it. If it's too fantastical, I just cannot cope with it. I can't deal with it. And I think this is why Romantasy for now is sticking with me a little bit more, because the fantastical worlds sometimes don't have as extreme names and the characters sometimes don't have as extreme names either. So I don't know if it's that or not. Like, I'm thinking back to Quicksilver with Ceres and Kingfisher. Very quickly I can come up with those names. The world, not necessarily, but I don't know what it is about fantasy at the moment that's just not vibing for me unless it's Romantasy. So overall, I think the mystery element I enjoyed, but I was, you know, dipping in and out with the whole fantastical side of things. I just couldn't cope with it at all, and it just wasn't for me. It's me that's the problem, not the book. The writing's great. Do I think I would pick up the second one? Potentially, yeah, but it's not one that I'm rushing to pre-order. You know, I did see it as an option to pre-order for when it was triple points with Waterstones over Black Friday, but I've not ordered it. I've made the decision not to order it because it's not one I'm going to reach for immediately. I would really need to be in the mood to pick it up. But I didn't hate this. I thought it was good. I liked the writing style. I enjoyed the characters. The world building I could give or take. I wasn't bothered about the fantastical side of things. The mystery was interesting, but even that was building up. Like, you had this initial mystery and then an extra mystery came in with it, and then you were solving. They were obviously tied together, but even that, I was just losing my head with it because of the fantastical side of things, and I just didn't enjoy it as much as I hoped I would. And it's me that's the problem, not the book. I can confirm that. I know that to be true. So overall 3 stars. I think that this is probably a very good book. I know Jade really enjoyed it, so I think it's probably an incredibly good book. It's just me that's got an issue, and 3-star rating is not a bad rating. Let's just confirm that it's not a bad rating. I enjoyed a book that I give 3 stars, so yeah, 3 stars for this one. Fantasy is not coming back to me anytime soon, I can tell you that right now. Okay, I am going to get started on The Family Experiment by John Mars. I'm looking forward to reading this one. I actually got an e-arc of it from NetGalley and I just haven't had a chance to get to it yet, so I'm looking forward to ticking that off as well. But this one sounds a little bit crazy, I'm not gonna lie. I haven't read from John Mars before, and I believe this is set in the same world as The One and also The Marriage Act. So if I enjoy this, I am gonna go back and read those 2 as well. I've always been intrigued by The One, so if I had time I would have read them before this challenge, but I have not, so it is what it is. The synopsis of this says, some families are virtually perfect. The world's population is soaring, creating overcrowded cities and an economic crisis. And in the UK, breaking point has arrived. A growing number of people can no longer afford to start families, let alone raise them. How real. But for those desperate to experience parenthood, there is an alternative. For a monthly subscription fee, clients can create a virtual child from scratch, accessing them via the metaverse and a VR headset. To launch this new initiative, the company behind Virtual Children has created a reality TV show. It will follow its contestants as they raise a virtual child from birth to the age of 18 in a condensed 9-month time period. The prize, the right to keep their virtual child or risk it all for a chance of a real baby. A twisted thriller about the ultimate Tamagotchi, a virtual baby. This sounds insane. Unhinged, you know, but really, really good, and I'm really intrigued. It's also kind of like mixed media-esque, and I'm really in the mood for something like that at the moment. So, and short chapters as well, incredibly short chapters for some of them. So I'm very much so looking forward to this. It sounds really good. I haven't really heard many people talking about it though, I've got to be honest. So I am surprised to see it. I'm not, in a way, because it's John Mars and I know he's very popular, but I am also in a way surprised to see it on the Goodreads Choice Awards for Sci-Fi, because I haven't seen a lot of people talking about it. So maybe it's just not running in my circles, but you know, it is what it is. So I'm looking forward to this one, so let's get started. Okay, hello, I'm here to update you on The Family Experiment by John Marrs. I've actually finished this. This was so good. I really enjoyed this. I had a very good time with it. I think the thing that gets me about this more than anything is that it is a terrifying prospect. It is quite a thought-provoking look into how our reality could become in years, decades. I'm not sure. It could be less than a decade. I don't know. We are, I think, close to this reality than a lot of people would like to think that we are. Essentially, within this, we have a set of several couples and then one single man who sign up to go on this reality TV show called The Family Experiment. We're living in a world where it is very expensive to have a child, and a lot of people just cannot afford to do it anymore. And they decide to set up this AI thing. Essentially, it's meta children. So you would put on, you know, like right now it would be like a VR headset, if you like, and you would go into an alternate reality in which you have a child and you spend time with that child, and then you come back out, live in the real world, go to work, do whatever it is you're doing in the real world. So, and you will get notifications on your smartwatch to say, you know, the baby's woke up, the baby needs feeding, the baby needs changing, etc, etc. Now, it's done over the course of, I think it's 5 months, and each month the baby will have a very quick growth stunt. So you will start off with a baby, and until about like month 5, in which the child is now an 18-year-old. So it is a very quick growth stunt. And essentially the idea is that the winner will get either the chance to continue on with their meta baby and keep said meta baby, or meta baby will be destroyed, but they will get funding to help them have their own child and help them fund that child. So we've got all different kinds of couples. We have a queer couple in here, a male couple, and there is an age gap between these two. One of them is an influencer and very much uses this baby as an influence to try and get their money back, because they've lost money over the last few years for reasons that we eventually find out throughout the story. We have another couple that gets eliminated very quickly for reasons. We've got another couple who, he's got like an issue with gambling, and you know, there's been a problem with that. They no longer have savings. We have another couple, they've got a secret going on. We've got another couple with another secret, and then we've got Hudson, who's a single dad, and he's trying to prove that single parents can be a thing and can still do it. However, obviously the public have views on this, and he gets called a pedo and all kinds of horrible shitty things. Now Hudson also has a bit of an agenda here, and we don't find out what that agenda is until the end of the book, but slowly but surely this is just filled with a whole bunch of drama. Each of these couples has got something going on in the background that is affecting why they're on the show and how things are being run with them on the show with this meta baby, and it's all very messy, very dramatic, and I think it was incredibly well done. I think the audio book for this is fantastic, and it actually brings me to a discussion about audiobooks, because a new category this year is the audiobook category. Now, I anticipated seeing books in there where it might be an audiobook that does something a little bit different. I'm thinking along the lines of The Illuminae Files by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I'm also thinking along the lines of Episode 13 by Craig DeLuey, but which I think I've mentioned previously. Thinking these types of books where it's a full cast narration, or there are sound effects and it's really brought to life type story. These are the sorts of books, which is why I wanted to pick Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera for my audiobook, because I think out of all of them, I don't know for some of them I'm just not interested in at all, but the ones that I was interested in, First Lie Wins, Listen for the Lie and Funny Story, out of those three, I think Listen for the Lie is going to be the one that actually does something special with the audiobook, and it's going to be a very immersive, interactive audiobook, and that's what I want. So This, I'm surprised it isn't in the audiobook category, because the audiobook for it is fantastic. It's very well done. It is, because there's mixed media in here, so you've got news reports and all sorts on everything that's going on. Like, when you get to a point where the next month comes up and the baby ages again, you will have a news outlet thing at the end, but you will also, after the interviews, I'll try and find a page with the kind of thing, but there will be another advertisement that will be tied into the family experiment or something going on with that. And then you will have a situation where there will be comments from people interacting on social media with the show and things like that. And it's just really, really interesting. I think the audiobook really brought it to life, chats and stuff like that, really brought it to life. And I think this is the type of book that the audiobook should be in that audiobook category. So I'm surprised not to see it in there, but it was, I think, the most probably terrifying, fascinating thing for me with this is how close of a reality this could be, because we are in times of crisis in the world at the moment where people are choosing not to have children because they can't afford them. Not so much to the extent of this, because there's a lot of other things in come into play with this, and it is set in the same world as The One and the Marriage Act. I don't know if it's set in the same world as The Passengers as well, but there was reference to it towards the end of the book, so I do want to go back and I want to read all of those books. But there's other underlying things going on with this as well, so not to that extent, but I don't think it would take us long to get there. I think we're a jump, hop and a skip away from that, but it is a reality that we could end up hitting, a wall that we could end up hitting where people just cannot afford to have children anymore. We stop having them and population declines, and because people are living until they're older, but not as many people are having kids, and then there's a panic, you know, and we could end up in a situation where people are having meta children. It's just so bizarre to me. It's absolutely wild. So as a woman who always wanted children, and I've not completely cut off the potential to have kids, but right now we are not in a financially stable position to have children at all, in the slightest. I always said I would only have kids if I was completely financially stable and I knew I could look after that child for the rest of its life, you know, well, for the rest of my life at least. So because a child, you know, people always say, oh yeah, you only look after it till you're 18. That's not the case anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, my parents still help me and my brother out every now and then. It's a fact of life that the world is incredibly cruel, and politics mean that a lot of people going into their 30s and 40s and 50s are still struggling financially because we just cannot afford to live properly, because the cost of everything else is rising while wages are not, and it's just ridiculous. So it does bring out incredible discussions, I think, a book like this. And as I say, as a woman who always wanted children, but now reality has set in, and you know, I'm about to become 35, or I might be 35 by the time this video goes out, and I'm just not financially secure enough to have a child. It is sad, but at the same time there's other factors that come into play for me as well with having children, and I've got some other stuff I need to work on with myself first. My ADHD diagnosis, for example, is something that I would really like to get set in stone and be working on with the help of medical professionals with that, because I could do with some help with it, to be perfectly honest. So that's the sort of thing I want to focus on myself first before I'm even ready to think about having kids. But right now, financially, cannot do it. And it really does make this a reality. Do you know what I mean? So it's terrifying. It's a terrifying thought, but it's a very well written, thought-provoking book, and I really, really enjoyed it. I had a very good time with it. I haven't run it through Pile yet, but I reckon it's going to get 4 stars for definite, maybe 4.5. I don't know if it's quite 5 stars. I feel like all the reveals that happened at the end, for ever so slightly, like maybe 20 pages, I lost it a little bit and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? But I came back round to it and I was okay. But for a little bit I was confused once the reveals started happening, but then it started to come back and make sense and I understood it. But yeah, I think very well done and I really enjoyed it. Great introduction to John Mars. I just hope this hasn't spoiled me going into this first for things like The One and The Passengers and The Marriage Act or anything else that he's done. I don't know if all of his books are set in this world or not, but if anybody knows, let me know. I think I will try and go back and read them in order though. I know the one is the first book that he did, so I want to go back and give them a read. But yeah, really interesting book. Very fascinating, little terrifying, the reality of it. But yeah, so I finished it. Okay, The Book of Witching by C.J. Cook. This is interesting. I've started this, just to be very blatantly clear with you, I have started this one. So this intro is not just to tell you what the book is about, which I will do, but it's to tell you that I've also started it and I've got some thoughts. So first of all, let me tell you what this story is about. We're basically following in two different timelines. We're following Glasgow 2024 and we're following in Orkney in 1594. So in 2024, we're following Clem, and basically her daughter, she's waiting by her daughter's hospital bed. Something has happened in which her daughter, Erin, has been found on an idyllic beach in Orkney with her boyfriend and best friend, I think. Now, something has happened. She's full of burns. Her boyfriend ended up burned up and he is now dead, and her friend is missing. And when Erin eventually does wake up, she says that she's not Erin. She doesn't know who her mum and dad are, and she is actually someone called Nix. So that's what's happening in 2024. And then in Orkney in 1594, we're following Alison Balfour, who is accused of witchcraft and is awaiting trial. The punishment, to be burned alive. Separated by 400 years but bound by the Book of Witching, two women stand imperiled. Can they unlock a centuries-old mystery? And will Finhallow Bay give up its secrets before someone else dies? Now, I am 108 pages into this. We're getting alternate chapters between 1594 and 2024. And I will say, like, the chapters following Clem and Erin, we're at a point now where Erin has just woke up. So we're going to start on Nix. We're going to start getting her, maybe POV, I don't know. Right now from Clem's POV, it's been a little bit boring. It's been back and forth with Erin's dad because they're not actually together anymore. They're separated. So it's been back and forth arguing with Erin's dad about Erin, I think. And then obviously just a lot of waiting, you know, some investigation side of things with the police to try and find out what's been going on. Alison, on the other hand, we're obviously getting her side of her POV on this whole being accused of witchcraft and this trial and things like that, which is quite interesting. And I will say, I've always been fascinated by the witch trials that happened obviously a very long time ago. And I do think, I don't know, part of me wishes that we were just following that POV or just following the 2024 POV, but not both of them. Right now, we haven't had the connection of what's going on, because obviously up until this point, Erin's only just woken up and told us that she is called Nix, not Erin. So I just don't know what to say about this. I'm bored and I don't care. That's what I'm saying. I'm bored and I don't care, and I just don't know what to do about this situation, because in my mind, this is not a horror, and I don't know why it's in the horror category. I can't figure it out. I don't know if it's just because there's this mystery and it's witches and they're like, okay, that's a horror, or if the further you go into the book, there's going to be a horror element. But for me, with horror books, if I am not hooked immediately, I am going to be very bored for the majority of the book. So, for example, some books that have been on the horror category that I've read this year, We Used to Live Here, The Eyes Are the Best Part, Incidents Around the House. These books all had me hooked very, very quickly. What Feast at Night? These books all had me hooked very, very quickly. I was intrigued. I wanted to know what was going on. I was freaked out. You know, there was some element of uncertainty and uncomfortableness with it. This is a historical fiction book about witches and witch trials. It's a historical fantasy with no horror element so far. I obviously don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the book. Maybe a horror element comes into it, but right now, the only horror element is that a boy has been burned alive and we don't know why. Maybe that's the horror element. I don't know, but I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. And I'm bored. I am bored. I'm reading this, it's supposed to be a horror, and I'm feeling very let down, you know? If this had been in the historical fiction category, I wouldn't be picking it up. You know, I picked it up knowing that there was going to be an element of historical fiction in it, but I picked it up because it's supposed to be a horror, and it's not. And I am gutted, to say the least, because I really wanted to enjoy this. I am a little bit gutted, and I just don't know what to do about that situation. So I'm going to have a little think on it, I think. I'm not opposed to DNFing books for this vlog. I will say that. So that is an option. I don't know whether to give it a little bit more time. I have had to scroll through some Goodreads reviews. There is a lot of 5 and 4-star reviews. Very popular book. It's clearly popular among the masses. But I am not a historical fiction reader. So I just don't know what to do about this situation. I'm going to sit with it for a little bit, I think, and then decide what to do. But I'll be back to give you an update on this at some point and let you know what I decided to do with this. But I am gutted though, because I really wanted a great horror for this. And you know, I think what's even more frustrating is that I had another option with Diavola, and I could have picked that up. So I'm just a little bit gutted, to be honest, about that. So I don't know, we'll see. I'll come back and let you know, but that's where I'm up to with this so far. All right, I'm here to chat to you about the Book of Witching. I haven't picked this up since I spoke to you last about this, and some time has gone by since then. It's probably been a week since I spoke to you about this book. I have since finished everything else for this video, and we're at a point now where I'm getting to a point where I'm wrapping the video up. I don't want to come back to this book. I haven't thought about it since, other than to think I don't want to pick that book up. I have no interest in this story whatsoever, and I'm really disappointed that I ended up picking this one up instead of Diavola. Really disappointed about that, but it is what it is. I gave the vote to my patrons, and to be fair, it sounds great. The execution though, it's just, I think what's annoyed me, and I think this is why I'm taking a stand on this, because this should be in the historical fiction category or fantasy category, not the horror category, and I'm confused how it's ended up there. I don't understand. Now, I haven't finished the book off, so maybe something horrific happens within the book that means that it should be in the horror category, but a girl being found, you know, in a bad situation, like she's missing and then she's found and her boyfriend is dead and her best friend is literally missing, that to me is, don't get me wrong, it's a terrifying situation, and for the parents I'm sure it is their worst nightmare, but that to me isn't horror. Do you get what I'm saying? It's a terrifying situation, but it's a mystery, you know? So I don't get it. I'm confused. I don't like it. I just don't get it, and I'm annoyed that I've picked this up for this. I've really wanted a good horror to sink my teeth into, and I bet you any money Diavola would have given me that. So I didn't make it to page 108 before I made the decision to DNF this book. It's just not what I thought it was going to be, and I'm really sad, and I was going to do my best to try and power through it for the sake of this video, but I just feel like it will end up putting me on a downer with the video, and I don't want to rush through the book if I'm not interested in reading it. Had it been in the historical fiction category, I wouldn't have reached for it at all. Like, I would not have reached this book in the slightest. I don't read a lot of historical fiction, and when I do, they're a certain type of book. So like the Stalking Jack the Ripper series by Karen Maniscalco, or the Veronica Speedwell series by Deanna Rayborn. They're the type of historical fiction I pick up. I would not have picked this up at all. So I've only picked it because it's in the horror category, and I'm pissed about the situation. So yeah, if anyone wanted to message me, if you've read this and you're like, no, it does belong in the horror category because of this reason, feel free to send me a DM. Don't put it in the comments down below because I don't want to spoil it for anybody else, but feel free to send me a message on Instagram or wherever you may know where I am, a DM, explaining, because I would actually love to know how it's ended up in the horror category, because I don't get it. But I've not finished the book. If you have and you go, no, it belongs in there because of this reason, feel free to tell me, because I am open to hearing why it's in there. But for me personally, I don't agree. So it is what it is. These things happen sometimes. So yeah, that's a DNF for that one. I'm sad. Did not think I would be DNFing from the horror category at all. But I mean, you're not gonna like everything, are you? It is what it is. Okay, audiobook. We have Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. Now, this is also in the mystery thriller category, and I'm really excited about reading this one. I picked this up when I went to Turkey earlier on this year at the airport, which is why it's so large. There's no need for it to be this big. That's what she said. So the synopsis of this, you probably already know about me, Lucy Chase, the woman who doesn't remember murdering her best friend. You probably think I did it too. That's okay, I get it. Being found wandering the streets covered in her blood wasn't a great look. Believe me, I'm as frustrated as you are. I'd love to know if I'm a murderer. It's the sort of thing you should really know about yourself, isn't it? And now, thanks to true crime podcast Listen for the Lie, I finally have the chance to find out. But will I be able to live with myself if it turns out it was me? And if it wasn't, will digging into the secrets of the night I forgot make me the next target of whoever did? Sounds absolutely fascinating. I am thrilled to be reading this. We also do have elements of a podcast, so I do think the audiobook is going to be very, very good for this one, which I think is why it's made it into the audiobook category. And I think that this is what the audiobook category should be made for. I think it needs to be made for audiobooks that do something maybe a little bit different. I have heard that the production of this one is done very, very well, so I am excited about it, and I hope that that is the case. I like a good audiobook, especially with a podcast element that does something special with it. For example, None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell, a fantastic audiobook, so good, because again, there is a podcast element to it. So I love when they make it sound like a podcast, like things are a little bit more, you know, different. There's sound effects, there's other things going on in the background, you know, it really brings the story to life and brings it all together. And that's the kind of thing I'm looking for from the audiobook category, not just with podcasts, but, you know, audiobooks that have duet narration or audiobooks that have a full cast narration. For example, The Illuminae Files by J. Christoph and Amy Kaufman, or Episode 13 by Craig DeLuey. I think I've mentioned both of those books several times, but they're such good examples of great audiobooks, and that's why I keep mentioning them. So we'll see what comes out of this. Hopefully it's very good, but I'm really excited about getting into it, so I'm going to dive in right now. All right, audiobook category. Listen for the Lie, I went for with this one by Amy Tintera, which is actually a mystery thriller, and this was such a good shout. I went for this one specifically for this category. I had a couple of options. First Lie Wins was another option by Ashley Elston, and Funny Story, which I did listen to the audiobook for. So I ended up going for this one because I think that the category should have been made for books like this. So this book basically follows Lucy, who 5 years ago was found with a tree branch. Actually, no, she wasn't. She was found walking down the street with blood all over her dress. They'd been at a wedding. She had blood all over her dress and absolutely no fucking memory of what had happened. Her face was all beaten up and everything. She ended up in hospital, and when she came to, she had no memory of what had happened. But it turned out that Savannah, her best friend, was killed that night, and Lucy had blood all over her dress. Now, there's a lot of people that think that Lucy actually killed Savvy. She's pretty convinced she didn't do it, but there is not enough evidence to convict her of the crime. So she decides that she's going to fuck off and leave and build a life somewhere else. And basically we then meet her present day. We don't get that backstory initially, like we build up to that backstory with the podcast. But we've meet her present day. She lives with this guy, and they've got like this relationship. She moved in with him very quickly because the tenancy was coming up on her place, and he was like, why don't you just move in with me? And everything moved very fast for them, and within a month or two of them living together, they realized, I think, it was a mistake, but she needed somewhere to live and he was way too nice to say something. So I think the thing that I love about Lucy is that she's got a no fucks attitude. I just love her. She literally couldn't give a single fuck about what people think or anything really. She just doesn't care, and I kind of love that about her. And it's kind of it's surprising in a way because of what she's gone through and what she's been accused of, but I don't know if that's kind of made her that way inclined or whether she's always kind of been that way. So we then end up in a situation where she finds out that this guy Ben has decided that he's going to do a podcast on this unsolved crime of Savvy and her murder. And he's been in contact with Lucy a couple of times to see if she'll come on for an interview, and she said no. So he's back in her hometown to interview people that knew both Lucy and Savvy to try and piece it all together and see if he can solve the crime. She then gets a call from her grandmother, who's a meddling sod, but I absolutely love and is the hero of this story for me. He gets a call, Lucy gets a call from her grandmother to say, I'm having an 80th birthday party and I want you to come. And it's come out of the blue. Like, her 80th birthday is round the corner. It's come out of the blue, and she's like, for fuck's sake. And she's been fired from her job. She knows that Ben's building up to kicking her out, but she just wishes he would get the balls to do it and just fucking do it. But she's like, I'm not leaving until he kicks me out. I refuse to. I need this roof over my head. I can't afford anything else on my own now that I've lost my job. I live in LA, and I just cannot get another job now because this guy Ben, the podcaster, has decided, because of his podcast, she is now being fired because, again, it's coming round, you know, the news is coming round that she's killed her best friend, or she's accused of doing so. So she's struggling to get another job. So she decides, fuck it, I'll go back to my hometown. I really don't want to because there's people there that think I did this. I'll go back to my hometown for Grandma's 80th birthday. And she ends up helping Ben with this podcast to try and find out exactly what happened. She genuinely cannot remember what happened, and there are a lot of people in town that don't believe that to be true, but she actually can. And so she ends up doing, you know, a little bit of those, going back to the scene of the crime to try and build it back up again, things like that with Ben. And this book is so fucking messy. The stories that come out, her whole family is a fucking mess. Her parents are a mess, like really messy, and her ex-husband, who still lives in town with his new wife, they've got problems. The shit that comes out is absolutely shocking. And if, you know, like, the story itself is shocking. Her best friend has been killed. She's been accused, and the majority of the town actually believe that this to be true, including her parents and her ex-husband, which is shocking, absolutely shocking. Like, she's barely got a single person in that town sticking up for her. And when everything comes out and is revealed, her grandma is like the only person that believes she didn't do this and knows she didn't do it, which is why she pushes her to help Ben with the podcast, because she wants her to have her name cleared. And it was just so good. And the audiobook, which is the whole point because this is the category it's gone in, the audiobook was very well done. I really enjoyed it. We had both female and male narration for this, and when the podcast elements were in, because you did get, you know, chapters of podcasts, it was very well done. And it wasn't done in such a way, like, there would be a little bit of a jingle and then it would say, like, listen for the live podcast with Ben Owens, episode 3, Matt was too good for her. And then there'd be a little bit of a description, but then you wouldn't get Colin, I was a real shithead, and then Ben took it out on her heart, and then Colin, you know, like, it would just be, I could follow along with the book, but it would just be that it would go into what Colin was saying, and then it would go into what Ben was saying, and it was a conversation like that, where sometimes you get audiobooks that go Ben at the beginning of what Ben's about to say, and then Colin at the beginning of what Colin's going to say, and then Ben again. It really fucking annoys the life out of me. Just have the conversation, assume I have the book in front of me. If you want to do it for the first part, like say Colin and then the bit that he's going to say, and then Ben the bit that he's going to say, and then stop after that point, fair enough, just in case not everyone has the book in front of them, but just assume I do. So I think this was done incredibly well. I really liked the audiobook, it brought it to life incredibly, but Lucy's character as a whole, I just fucking loved her. I thought she was brilliant. The no fucks attitude with everything that was going on, like, she literally didn't care what people said about her. She couldn't give less of a fuck if she tried. If people thought that she killed her best friend, fine. she's pretty convinced she didn't do it, but as the reveals come out a little bit more, you're sat there going, oh shit, did she actually do it? What is going on here? I did predict something that would happen in this that did happen, but overall I didn't predict who did it at all. I got wrong my predictions throughout the book. So it was just so good and I really loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I would give the narration for this 5 stars. It 100% deserves to be in the audiobook category. And I 1000% agree with that. But overall, as a mystery thriller, fantastic. I gave it 5 stars. It was so fucking good. And I just really enjoyed this. I thought it was great. So yeah, 5 stars for Listen for the Lie. It was fantastic. Don't Let the Forest In, the YA fiction. Is it the YA fiction? No, it's the YA fantasy. I don't freaking know. By CJ Drews. You know, I don't. I've started this and I intended to come to you at 100 pages and I kind of accidentally carried on and got to page 178. So I'm over halfway. This is weird. Let me read the synopsis to you and then I'll tell you about what's gone on so far, because I don't actually know the synopsis of this book and it is long. High school senior Andrew Perrault finds refuge in twisted fairy tales that he writes of the only person who can ground him to reality, Thomas Rye. The boy with perpetually ink-stained hands and hair like autumn leaves, and with his twin sister Dove inexplicably keeping him at cold distance upon their return to Wickwood Academy, Andrew finds himself leaning on his best friend even more. But something strange is going on with Thomas. His abusive parents have mysteriously vanished, and he arrives at school with blood on his sleeve. Thomas won't say a word about it and shuts down whenever Andrew tries to question him. Stranger still, Thomas is haunted by something and he seems to have lost interest in his artwork. Whimsically macabre sketches of the monsters from Andrew's wicked stories. Desperate to figure out what's wrong with his friend, Andrew follows Thomas into the off-limits forest one night and catches him fighting a nightmarish monster. Thomas's drawings have come to life and are killing anyone close to him. To make sure no one else dies, the boys battle the monsters every night, but as their obsession with each other grows strong, so do the monsters, and Andrew begins to fear the only way to stop the creatures might be to destroy their creator. So, I'm glad I've read that because now I know what I can and cannot tell you. I thought partway through that, oh my god, they don't say anything about Thomas's drawings coming to life, but they do. So, yeah, we've got this situation where we've got Andrew and Dove, who are twins, and they're Australian, but they go to this school in America, and they are being dropped off. Now, I think Andrew is repeatedly bullied at school. Dad didn't want them to go back, but they've decided to go back. Now, Thomas then turns up. He's barely heard from Thomas all summer because Thomas's phone was broken after being thrown at his head by his parents. So Andrew's under the impression that his parents are abusing him. Now, very quickly, something's going down with Thomas's parents because they're now missing. There was a lot of blood at his home and the police have been to come and talk to Thomas. And it's all very strange, but then it all starts to come out about Thomas's drawings coming to life. So he's been drawing the monsters from Andrew's stories, but it appears that they're coming to life and he's out fighting them every single night. Andrew happens to come across one of them one night and they seem to be attacking people that Thomas cares for. So Andrew being one of them, and then obviously this mysterious disappearance of his parents, that's thrown into the mix as well, and it's getting increasingly more and more terrifying and frightening. This forest and the creatures are getting closer and closer to school. They didn't think they would enter the school. We've just had a situation where that could have all changed, and it's getting increasingly more and more terrifying. Now, what I will say about this is that this writing style is very flowery and whimsical. It's not my vibe. So normally I would have DNF'd this. However, the horror side of it is very, very good. I am terrified. I want to know how we're going to get out of this situation. And I am interested to see where it's going to go next. And I am very, very intrigued. I want to know what's going on with Dove as well. Why is she not talking to Thomas? I mean, Thomas is keeping her at arm's length because he doesn't want her to be attacked by the monsters. But I don't know if that's the be-all and end-all. I'm not sure what's going on with that. But it's really interesting and I am kind of enjoying it. Not a fan of the writing style at all, which is obviously not the author's fault. I just don't vibe with that writing style. If you've been here a while, you will know this. But the story itself, I'm enjoying enough to fight through that. So not only that, but it's actually giving me the Wicker King vibes by Kate Ancrum. So, you know, best friend seems to be losing their entire mind and cannot seem to, you don't know whether it's reality or whether it's made up and they're seeing things. On the basis that both of them can see them, I'm assuming that is not the case, but I'm not sure where this is going to go and I'm really intrigued by it. It is giving me the Wicker King vibes. It's different, but it is giving me those vibes. Again, the Wicker King is something that I shouldn't have enjoyed for the writing style, and I never even picked up on it with the writing style. It's only when people started mentioning it to me that I was surprised that I'd actually enjoyed it so much, and that book does hold up for me. So with this one though, I have picked up on the writing style very, very quickly, but around the, I would say 15% mark in, I was then hooked on exactly what is going on with this and the horror side of it. I think as well, because the Book of Witching at this point hasn't gone well for me, I'm just desperate to want to read a horror for this video, so I will continue on with this book regardless. But I'm not too far left. I've not got too long left, struggles. I've not got too long left, so I'm hoping to finish this today, so you may see me in the same outfit again. Reporting back to you on my full thoughts on this. So, yeah, so far, very, very strange. I'm intrigued to know more, and I'm interested to find out where this is going to go. So I'm going to continue on with it and get it finished. All right, Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. I finished this... When did I finish this? Yesterday. I finished this yesterday. And this was good. I mentioned when I gave you my update yesterday, when I was like 200 pages in, that the writing style is quite flowery and it's the sort of writing style I wouldn't normally go for, but that it also gave me the vibes of The Wicker King by Kate Ancrum. And I stand by that. To the end of this book, I stand by that. The drama and the, you know, the prose really kind of lent into the drama of this story, and I understand why it works for the story. There were some parts where I was like, oh, I'm so fucking bored of this writing style, but it didn't last long. It was like maybe a paragraph of writing and that's it, but it didn't last too long. Overall, I actually really enjoyed this. I thought the story was great. I think that it was quite messy, some of the relationships that we had, like Andrew and Thomas's relationship was really messy, and then the relationship that we are led down the garden path with a little bit too much maybe, with Thomas and Dove, who is Andrew's twin, that whole thing as well. It was, I predicted what was going to happen before it happened with the reveal, like the first reveal of going into this. I predicted what was going to happen, and so therefore I wasn't too surprised, but the kind of reveal that we were given beforehand, I was shocked that that happened because I wasn't expecting that, and then the reveal happened and I was like, yeah, that's how I thought this was going to go. But it was the way this ended as well, what the fuck. What the fuck? I've just remembered how the ending happened because I finished this and then very quickly had to get ready because we were going out. But the ending, what the fuck? This was good. I liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was very, very good. An incredibly queer book. Lots of conversations about queerness as well. There is some homophobia in here, so just be wary of that going in. But overall, I did enjoy this book, and it is a kind of, like The Wicker King, a little bit of a descent into madness, ever so slightly, but it's just really interesting look at, I really don't want to say too much because it will spoil it. It's a very interesting story of, when you get to the end you will understand where I'm trying to go with this without saying exactly what it is an interesting story of, because it will spoil it. It will spoil it, but I liked this. I thought it was very good. I think as well, the other thing that's really interesting is that Andrew is a writer, Thomas is an illustrator, and Andrew writes these short little stories that are like this. They're like this in the ebook as well, because I have the ebook. 2. But they're like this, and then you will get some of Thomas's illustrations. So when they're describing some of the creatures that they're fighting in the forest, you will get the odd illustration, which is, you know, really adds to the atmosphere of the story and is quite terrifying. Like, what the fuck is this thing? And how do you make something like that up? How dark is your brain gonna be to make something like that up? CG Drew. But yeah, I liked this. I thought it was good. I ended up giving it 4 stars. So here's another book with, you know, flowery lyrical prose that I probably shouldn't have enjoyed, but did. And it did give me Wicker King vibes from Kate Ancrum. So if you've read The Wicker King, I would recommend reading this. And if you've read this and really enjoyed it and not read The Wicker King, I would recommend reading that book. It was very, very good, and it held up for me. I've reread it this year and I really loved it. So this was good. Gave it 4 stars. I would recommend this book for sure. Okay, I'm here to give you a little update on I Hope This Doesn't Find You. I am just shy of 100 pages in. I'm 97 pages in on chapter 9 of this, and I figured I was going to enjoy this when I heard what Jodie had to say about it and how she described it as like P.S. I love you, but instead of love letters, it's hate email. So it's, you know, I mean, it's risky in of itself to write your whole entire thoughts in emails and then just store them in your drafts. Like, that is risky in of itself, because I can guarantee you I would accidentally end up sending them. But this is what she ends up doing, and Sadie's emails end up being sent out by someone. So the moment that it happens, she's just received an email from Julius, who is the guy that she is co-captain with and of the school, and she has had this rivalry with him since they have known each other. They've been at this school for a long time together. Like, the oldest email she's got for him was like 9 years ago. So, you know, it's been a long rivalry. And she gets an email from Julius about something. She then start actively typing something back and then drafts it and then closes the laptop because she gets distracted. Well, barely closes the laptop. She gets distracted by a teacher that's going past that she needs to speak to. She runs out. When she comes back, she notices something is odd with her laptop and she thinks it's been tampered with, but she's not sure. And then very quickly it becomes very, very aware that the emails have been sent out. Now, plot twist, there weren't just emails for Julius in here. There were emails for tutors, for teachers. There was emails for other people in class as well. And it's taken a turn. It's quite shocking. We're on like day 2 now. She's got this really cool best friend. I'm worried where this is going to take, what direction this is going to take, but she's got this really cool best friend who I actually quite like, but I am concerned about that situation. But we do have quite a lot of interaction now between Sadie and Julius, because they now are being forced by the head teacher to spend more time together and sort out this rivalry that they've got going on, because it's causing a lot of problems. So far really enjoying it, and I am feeling the kind of enemies to lovers, if you like, yeah, enemies to lovers vibes from these two. Like, you can really tell that she's attracted to him, but this boy pisses her off every single day. You can tell. With him, you can't tell what's going on with his mind. I think he's always been into her. I get the feeling the case is going to be that he's always been into her, but he just loves to ruffle her feathers, because he would love to see her come out of her shell and stop being a yes man to everybody, because she's quite that way inclined. There was there was an incident in one of the classes where one of the girls came over to him and was like, Sadie, I was wondering if there was any possibility that you could send me the notes for science. And Sadie's like, oh, for today's class? And she's like, no, for the whole semester. And could you do it colour coordinated? And could you do it this? And could you do it that? And then her 3 friends behind her was like, could you do me a set as well? And Sadie's like, yeah. And this girl has like literally copied one of Sadie's exam papers one day or something, or a piece of coursework one day or something, got an A star for it, and then like fucking, you know, had smoke blown up her ass about it. And I'm frustrated for Sadie, I'm not gonna lie, but she is very much so a yes man, so I would also love to see her come out of her shell. But I feel like this is why Julius loves to push her buttons, because he wants to see her come out of her shell. And although he's, I think, frustrated with the emails and a little bit annoyed about what's happened with it and some of the things that she said, I also feel like in a way he's kind of glad it's happened, because it's really kind of shown what's actually going on in her head in the background, whereas people just assume that she is this, you know, a pushover, and, you know, she can be walked all over. So really enjoying this so far. I am around, not quite a third of the way in, but I am really enjoying it so far. It's going by very, very fast, considering it's a physical read as well, and I'm having a very good time. So I'm excited to continue on with this, and I'll probably come back to you to give you an update once I've finished it. I don't think I need to come back and let you know in the middle again, but I wanted to let you know, now that I'm nearly 100 pages in, exactly what's going on. And at the point that we're at now, they have been told by the head teacher that they have to spend more time together and resolve this, and they've had to go down to the bike shed and clear off all the graffiti on the wall, and it's kind of turned into a little bit of a water fight. And, you know, there have been some side-eye moments. It may have become a wet t-shirt competition. So I'm having a great time. This is really good. Alright, I'm here to wrap up I Hope This Doesn't Find You by Anne Liang. I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed this a lot more than I anticipated I was going to. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. It was very, very good. I don't read much YA contemporary anymore, because I just feel like I spend way too much time eye rolling and sighing and putting the book down and not being interested in picking it back up. But it took me a while to get through it, but I got through it in the end. This was a physical read for me, and I am now interested in picking up more from Anne Liang. I actually was gifted one for an Anne Liang book for my birthday, so I'm really excited about picking that one up. It looks really cute. But I really enjoyed this. I think that the rivals to lovers was done really, really well between our two main characters, Sadie and Julius. And I loved Sadie's character arc in this as well. She goes from being a bit of a doormat, a bit of a pushover, yes man to everybody because she wants everybody to like her, to being a little bit of a badass, coming out of her shell a little bit more and really telling people what she thinks about them. So because the emails end up going out, she's not only written emails like hate emails to Julius, but she's written hate emails about other people as well. So one of the girls in class, for example, will very rarely do her own work, and she will ask Sadie, oh, you know, can I have all your notes, and by the way, can I have your practice paper for what you've done for this? And then, like the previous year, she'd submitted something that essentially Sadie had written for that assignment, and she'd submitted it and gotten like an A star or something, and was, you know, the student of the class for that project. And Sadie was fucking furious about it, wrote a really ragey email, and then it just went in her drafts. And that also was released when all these emails about Julius were released. There was emails about teachers as well and things like that. So it wasn't just Julius that was pissed at her. Half the school was pissed at her for what she'd said, and that girl was really mad at her. But it was in, you know, in that moment as an adult, I would be saying to that girl, what the fuck do you mean? Like, I mean, for starters, I wouldn't let someone walk all over me like that. But when I was in school, I was a little bit like her, like Sadie. So I do get it. But in that moment, I'd be like, you've read that email and your first thought is that I'm the asshole because I wrote the email, not that you're the asshole because of what you've done. But as we get through the story, and, you know, she tries to make up for what's happened, and she gets to know Julius a bit more. They're being forced to work together, so she gets to know Julius a bit more. And as, you know, things come out a little bit more, as the reader, we can see that Julius is actually really into Sadie. She point blank refuses to accept that that's even a possibility. Like, she just refuses to accept it. There is no fucking way that Julius could be into her. No way. So anytime something that makes her think, oh my god, maybe he's into me, she convinces herself that that is not the thing, and the reason he did that was because of this, that or the other. So I don't know, there were a few times where I rolled so hard I thought I might see the back of my head, but overall I actually really enjoyed this. I thought it was fantastic. I think the arc that we got from Sadie, the character arc, was incredible. The person that she is at the beginning of the book and towards the end of the book, two completely different people, and I really enjoyed that. And it was nice to see this relationship build as well between the two of them, but also Sadie build some actual real friendships as well on real foundations, as opposed to them being, you know, it's a friendship because Sadie will help them out and it's the only reason why they speak to her. It was actually based on real foundations of friendship, and it was really good and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, 4 stars for this one. I would definitely pick up from Anne Liang again, and I just really enjoyed this one. I'm glad that I got it, and I'm glad that I listened to Jodie's review of this and picked it up, so yay. Okay, hello. I am going to make a start on The Third Gilmore Girl by Kelly Bishop. I love Gilmore Girls. I was like really behind on everybody else watching Gilmore Girls. I only watched it a couple of years ago for the first time, and I loved it, and I always want to rewatch it around October. I just never really make time for it because I'm so busy with filming and reading, etc, etc. So I'm really excited about getting to this one. Kelly Bishop did play Emily Gilmore, who is Lorelai's mother and Rory's grandmother. And I really, for the most part, hated her character, honestly. She did such a great job. But as the seasons went on, I did start to appreciate Emily Gilmore and what she did for her family and stuff. And I'm very excited to give this a read. I'm also using my Gilmore Girls bookmark from the Bestie book sleeve, Rachel at the Bestie book sleeve. I'm obsessed with this. This is so cute. Oh, it stretches. Fascinating. I didn't know that. I'm really obsessed. So I'm very excited to dig into this one and give it a read. After more than half a century in show business, Kelly Bishop has stories to tell. Chock full of witty insights and personal photographs, The Third Gilmore Girl is a warm, unapologetic, lively memoir from a woman who has left enduring impressions on her audiences for decades and who has no plans of slowing down. I love that. I've heard really good things, so I'm very excited about getting into this one, and I can't wait to give it a read and find out what she's got to tell us all about show business. So let's go. Okay, hellos, I'm here to give you an update. Sorry if I'm looking a little bit yellow. It's the morning and it might not look it right now, but it's pretty dark in this room, so I've got the lamp on. This is what it is. I have finished The Third Gilmore Girl by Kelly Bishop. This was incredible. I don't read a lot of memoirs or autobiographies, but when I do, I've got to be super interested in the person whose book I'm picking up, otherwise it will mean nothing to me. So Kelly Bishop is someone I know obviously from Gilmore Girls, which is great because it's the title of the book, but even that, we got a little bit of know-how as to how she ended up with this title, and it was really, really sweet. I actually tabbed it up. I tabbed up a few things, not much, but a few things. And I also didn't know that she was in Dirty Dancing as well. Just never pieced that together. I love that film. I haven't seen it a whole lot. It's one of my mum's favourites, but I do love that film and I hadn't pieced it together. And even that has got a really cool story. But from beginning to end, from where she starts in her life to where she is today, well, last year when she was finishing the book off, absolutely fascinating. Such an interesting story, and everything that goes into it, everything that she's done over the course of her 80 years is so fascinating, and all the decisions that she's made and just the little tidbits, like she went on a rally for Roe versus Wade, absolutely fascinating. She was there when living in New York but outside of Manhattan when 9/11 happened. She was on location for a movie when COVID hit, or everything. She just went through it all. Her husband, just everything. And it was so interesting and fascinating. She's had such an interesting life, and the way it's told was just incredible. I cannot believe this book is less than 250 pages. Like, she crams so much into it, and the way that it's told is just so incredibly well. And I loved the audiobook. Kelly actually narrates the audiobook herself, and there is a foreword by Amy Sherman Palladino, who is the director of Gilmore Girls. I think she's the director anyway of Gilmore Girls. She's got something to do with Gilmore Girls, and it was fascinating. She even narrated her own part as well, and I just, the whole thing, loved the storytelling, loved the whole thing. This, easily one of my best books of the year. I did not see that coming, but easily one of my best books of the year. It was incredible, and I loved every single second. It was so fascinating, and I'm so glad that I've read it. Very, very interesting. I kind of want to reread it at some point and actually annotate it. I debated whether or not to bother doing that, because I thought usually when I've read a memoir, it's the sort of thing that either goes back on my shelves and sits there forever, never touched again, or I just unhaul it. But it was just so interesting. Some of the things that she had to say were very profound and incredible and really hit home. So I don't know, I just think it's a really, really interesting memoir, and I had a great time with it. So 5 stars for this one. Absolutely incredible. I never know how to, I was having this conversation with my patrons, never know how to rate memoirs and autobiographies and things like that, non-fiction. And one of my patrons, Theo, actually really came up with something so interesting that was you're rating the experience of getting that knowledge. So even though you're not rating somebody's life, so don't feel bad about the fact that you're sticking, maybe it just wasn't a great storytelling of that person's life. You're not sticking a 3-star on somebody's life. You're sticking a 3-star on the storytelling. So that's how you're rating it. You're not going, oh, your life was pretty boring, so I'm just going to give it a 2-star. Do you know what I mean? You're saying your life was, not a great deal has happened, but the way that you've told it, the storytelling of it, fascinating. A lot has happened in Kelly Bishop's life, but the storytelling of it, also incredible. So 5 stars for me all the way through. I know a lot of people don't rate non-fiction and memoirs and things like that, but I always worry that it will affect the rating of the book in general. It will affect people picking it up if it's not rated. So I always feel weird about not rating. Weirder about not rating than I do about rating it. So yeah, I've given it 5 stars. It was incredible. And if you are a Gilmore Girls fan, or you are a fan of Kelly Bishop at all, I would 100% recommend picking this up, because it's just super interesting and I had a fantastic time. Okay, we are at a point now where we have finished the books. I have finished the books. I'm going to run through with you very quickly and wrap up with you exactly what it is that I've read, but I thought that we should have a look at who the winners are, because the results are now in and I'm interested to see who the winners are of each category. So I thought that we could do that together. So I've got a screen recording on, I'm hoping that this works, so let's go on and have a butcher, shall we? So for fiction, I did read the Hugh Nam Dong Bookshop. Welcome to the Hugh Nam Dong Bookshop. And by the looks of things, The Wedding People won for that category. So that's interesting. I wasn't necessarily interested in anything else in that category. So let's have a look and see how far. Oh, the Hugh Nam Dong Bookshop came in 3rd place, so that's good. I'm surprised Sally Rooney didn't win, actually. For this one, I did think Intermezzo might win, but I've also heard a lot about that Blue Sisters as well, so nice. Historical fiction, I'm not overly bothered about knowing who won that one, but let's have a look anyway. Oh, Kristen Hanna, of course it was Kristen Hanna. So yeah, Kristen Hanna won that one. I'm not surprised in the slightest by that one. So mystery thriller, what did I read for mystery thriller? I read The Return of Ellie Black, aka The Next Girl in the UK. So I don't think this one will have won for this, but The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. Fair enough. Haven't read that one. Where did The Return of Ellie Black? Oh, okay, she right down at the bottom. Not quite the end, but right down at the bottom, which, fair. I gave it 3 stars, so there is that. Then we have romance, which I did read Funny Story for and gave 5 stars. I had a very good time with it. What won? Oh, Funny Story by Emily Henry. Success! What else? Very close behind, actually, with only 39,000 votes different, was Abby Jimenez's Just for the Summer, which I've read, gave 5 stars. Then we've got Bride by Ali Hazelwood, which I think I gave 5 stars as well. I haven't read Leather and Lark yet, or Play Along. I do intend to do so. King of Sloth, I'm not going to read. But Wild Love, I gave 5 stars. Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, I gave 3, I think. This Summer Will Be Different, I think I gave 4, 4.5, maybe 5 stars, I don't know. But yeah, nice. Interesting. Romantasy, I did read Quicksilver, which I gave 5 stars. So let's see what won. Of course it fucking did, which is hilarious because I didn't think that it was that popular. I know it's popular because it's SJM, but I didn't think that many people liked it. So, I mean, I've DNF'd the series anyway at book 2. Then Apprentice to the Villain at 56,000 votes, and then Quicksilver with 49, almost 50,000 votes. So, I mean, I'm surprised at Apprentice to the Villain, actually. I don't know why, but I am surprised at that. I would have thought Quicksilver would have come second for sure, but what the heck do I know? I did also give When the Moon Hatched, I think, 4 stars, and I gave A Fate Inked in Blood 5. I loved that book, it was fantastic. Feybound, I think I gave 3.5, maybe 4 stars, so nice. For fantasy, I read The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. It's the only book that I've read for this category, so TJ Klune, Somewhere Beyond the Sea, fair enough. I haven't read that one yet because I don't have my copy yet. I'm getting the Illumicrate one. The Familiars by Leigh Bardugo, Emily Wilde's Map of Other Lands, The Book of Doors, Empire of the Damned, Where Did We Come with the Tainted Cup? Okay, 3rd line down. Fair. Fair enough. Fair enough. I gave it 3 stars. It's me, not the book, that's the problem. Then we have Sci-Fi, which I read The Family Experiment for by John Mars. I really loved. I really enjoyed this one. So where did this come? Oh, The Ministry of Time won. Family Experiment came second. Nice. I like that a lot. I like it a lot. Interesting. For horror, I did, in fact, DNF The Book of Witching. If this wins, I'm going to be really pissed. So, what won for horror? Oh, Stephen King. Of course he did. Of course Stephen King won. Why did I think it would be anything else? Stephen King won with 60,900 votes. And then with 46,900 votes, we've got We Used to Live Here, which I gave 5 stars. And then What Feasts at Night, which I gave 4 stars, 4.5 stars, I think, which I did read. Murder Road, I think I gave 4 stars. I really enjoyed that one. Bury Your Gaze, I've just recently got for my birthday, so I'm excited to give that a read. The Eyes Are the Best Part, I gave 4 stars. Instance Around the House, I gave 5 stars too. Diavola, I wish I'd read. Book of Witching, DNF. So, interesting, nice. I'm not surprised Stephen King won, actually, now that I think about it, but I'm glad that it wasn't, you know, someone else. Debut novel, The Hugh Nam-dong Bookshop, which I read for that as well. It crossed over with 2 categories. How to End a Love Story won. Fascinating. Because I don't think that did... Maybe it did alright actually in the romance category, because I'm fairly certain that was in the romance category. And then The Ministry of Time, and then We Used to Live Here, which I did read. Hugh Nam-dong Bookshop came 5th, which is nice. The Eyes Are the Best Part did pretty well as well. Nice. Audiobook. I did read Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera, and it was very, very good. So I hope that this is high up in there. But I know that Funny Story is also in the audiobook category, so potentially could have won that as well. Which it did. I don't know why, but it did. Then The Women by Kristen Hanna, Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, Listen for the Lie then at that point. So... interesting. There is something I want to say about this category. I think I've been saying it pretty much all the way through the video, but there is something I want to say specifically about this category. So in my personal opinion, if you're going to stick the audiobook category in on Goodreads Choice Awards, I think the reason why it needs to be there is that the audiobook did something special. I'm thinking along the lines of The Illuminae Files by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, or something like a duet narration like Butcher and Blackbird, for example, or, you know, something that's got really incredible sound effects that brings the story to life, like Episode 13 by Craig DeLuey. Those 2 books, neither of them came out to count for this, but actually all 3 of those, none of them came out to count for this year, but those types of books need to be counted for this category. For example, Listen for the Lie. Another one, Quicksilver by Callie Hart. The audiobook for this was insanely good, and I would 10 out of 10 recommend it. It was very, very good, and I think it's a shame it wasn't counted in here. The audiobook for Funny Story by Emily Henry, I've already mentioned in my review, when I reviewed Funny Story, was great, but it did nothing special. Do I think it should be in this category? not necessarily. It's great that the narrator is getting, you know, acknowledgement, and I think it's really good for the narrator, but I do feel like it needs to be a audiobook that's had incredible production and brings the story to life, for example, and also for example. So in my personal opinion, those are the types of books that should be on here. I think it's unfair in a way that Funny Story has ended up on here, because I don't necessarily think that the audiobook did anything specifically special. The narrator's fantastic and I really enjoy the narrator, but I don't think it necessarily did anything special. And in my personal opinion, it needs to be an audiobook that is, the production of it was special. Do you know what I mean? Personally, that's just my personal opinion. What the heck do I know? So anyway, young adult fantasy, I did read Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. Let's see what won for this one. Ruthless Vows. I'm not surprised, but also I kind of am, because I know that this series has got a lot of mixed reviews, but I also know it's incredibly popular, so I'm kind of surprised, but I'm not. In a way, I have read this one. I gave it 4 stars. I haven't read Reckless yet by Lauren Roberts, but I really enjoyed Powerless. I read Heartless Hunter, aka, what is it in the UK? The Crimson Moth. And I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4.5 stars. I've got The Prisoner's Throne, but I haven't read the first one. Don't Let the Forest In. It's still down as currently reading at the moment. I haven't rated it yet on Goodreads, and I need to. But I gave this one 4 stars. It was good. I do need to get to Wisteria as well, but I haven't read the second one yet. And I've got Immortal Dark on my TBR. I do have a lot of these on my TBR actually. This also needs to change because I don't own it anymore. But yeah, I also recently got this for my birthday, The Darkness Within Us, and I'm very excited about reading it. So 4 stars for this one. And then for young adult fiction, I did read I Hope This Doesn't Find You by Anne Liang. I think Heartstopper will win this one though, which I have read. Yes, Heartstopper Volume 5 did win. Reappearance of Rachel Price, I enjoyed. I did get That's Not My Name for my birthday, and I did get the first one to this one. If He Had Been With Me, yeah, the special edition first one for this for my birthday as well. This one is here, and I've read Icarus. I do have Death at Mourning House, so yeah, not too bad, not too shabby, but one of the ones that I did read won. And then the next category is non-fiction. I did not read for this one, so I'm interested to see. Oh, The Anxious Generation. Okay, I did get Want by Gillian Anderson for my birthday, but I wasn't reading it in this video because it came for my birthday and then I wasn't adding it in. Memoir, I did read The Third Gilmore Girl by Kelly Bishop. I really hope this wins. Yay! I gave this 5 stars. This was fucking incredible. It was so good. Oh my god, look at that. 80,000 votes compared to 29,600 for Sociopath, which I've seen about a lot recently. So I'm really surprised that that one didn't win. But this, I am so happy for Kelly Bishop. This book is incredible and I would highly recommend reading it. So, yeah, was there one more category after that? Oh, History and Biography. The Bookshop. A History of American Bookstore. Fair. Fair. Makes sense. Fair. Alright. So to wrap this video up, I did end up reading 11 books across 12 categories in total. I literally cannot believe that this video is over and that I've actually managed to do this. We did have some successes though, We did have some downs as well. So 5 star for Emily Henry, which I don't think anybody is surprised at, to be perfectly honest. 4.5 star for The Family Experiment by John Mars, which is fantastic. It's my first John Mars and I'm very excited now to continue on with more of his books. 5 star for Listen for the Lie. This was incredible and I'm so excited that I've read it. 4 star for Don't Let the Forest In. This was very good and I liked it a lot. 4 star for I Hope This Doesn't Find You. This was really good as well. 5 star for The Third Gilmore Girl. I loved this. It was so fucking good. And then we did have some that, oh, 5 star for Quicksilver as well, because I don't have it on me physically, I just keep forgetting. But 5 star for Quicksilver as well. And then we did have some that weren't, you know, incredible. There weren't any new favourites. They were just okay. So we had 3-star for the Hugh Nam Dong bookshop, which was just, you know, it was fine. It just wasn't what I was anticipating. We had 3.5-star for The Return of Ellie Black, aka The Next Girl. We had 3.5-star for The Tainted Cup, and then we did have 1 DNF with The Book of Witching, which shouldn't have been in the horror category at all. To be perfectly honest, does not belong there. It belongs in the historical fiction or fantasy category, in my personal opinion. But yeah, I have finished this video. I can't believe it. I feel like I've been doing this for so much longer than I actually have. I think this has been going on for 3 weeks, but it's complete and I'm so excited. I just now need to edit the damn thing. Terrified, I'm not gonna lie, because it's gonna take me a while, I think. But yeah, chat to me in the comments down below. Have you read any of these? And if you have read The Book of Witching and you're like, no, she's totally wrong, she doesn't know what she's talking about, it does belong in the horror category, send me a private message and let me know why, because I am really interested to find out. Have you read any of these? Have you got any recommendations for me from any of these authors that I have now read from, maybe for the first time? For example, John Mars. Do you think I need to go back and read The One and also The Marriage Act? I'm really interested in both of those. I have read now all of Emily Henry's romance books until her new release next year, so I'm up to date with her. Anne Liang, any recommendations? The one that I did get for my birthday was This Time It's Real, so if you've got any other recommendations, I know a fantasy has just come out from Anne Liang as well, so let me know if that's good. I enjoyed this. Has Amy Tintera done anything else? Let me know. But yeah, did you enjoy this video? Let me know in the comments down below. How many of the Goodreads Choice Awards winners have you read? Let me know. What was your most read category? I'm interested to know. And I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I will see you in whatever comes next. Bye for now.